Welcome to SEC Network College Football, presented by Allstate. Today, it's the Skyhawks of UT Martin out of the Ohio Valley Conference in Lexington to take on the Kentucky Wildcats. And we welcome you to Commonwealth Stadium in Lexington, where the excitement for this opening game is at an all-time high. Hey, everybody, Tom Hart alongside two-time Georgia All-American Matt Stinchcomb. The excitement is because this is a reconstructed Kentucky program.
That's the perfect word for what we've seen here at Kentucky. Reconstructed, and the leader of that building project is Mark Stoops, head coach, second year here in Lexington, and they're looking to make big strides, specifically on the offensive side of the football. And it's not just with new recruits. We'll see a lot of freshmen today, but this guys that were already on the roster. Javis Blue at the wide receiver position was their leading receiver a season ago, but got here late. They're expecting a big jump out of him. And then JoJo Kemp leads what looks to be a very talented running back core. Leading rusher a season ago as a true freshman. They will be key components to helping a new first-time starter in Patrick Tolles at the quarterback position for Kentucky.
UT Martin won the toss. They've elected to defer, so Kentucky will receive. We will see this high-octane offense take the field early. UT Martin out of the OVC, and so far this season through the first two games, FCS schools are a combined 0 for 12 against FBS opponents. Jackson Reddit will get it started for us. Braylon Hurd and Boom Williams back to return. We noticed it on our way in today, and really this weekend, the excitement around this program. You can go back to the spring game 2 years ago to measure it.
You know, for a 2-10 football team, the amount of buzz around here, it's almost hard to imagine that there would be that much excitement, and yet pretty full stadium and a lot of excitement around this opening.
And we are underway in Lexington. This is the freshman Boom Williams from the 5. He's got room, and it's Boom to the 29. And that will get us started with Patrick Tolles. And for more on that, we turn it over to the third member of our broadcast crew, former Florida soccer All-American, Heather Mitz.
Yeah, well, Patrick Tolles would not take no for an answer. After redshirting last season, offensive coordinator Neil Brown told him to look in the mirror and figure out how important football is to him. He went into the spring training confident. His leadership grew every single day, and they made sure to shorten his release. We will see that on the field today, guys.
First career start for Tolles. Third-year sophomore out of Highlands High School in Fort Thomas, Kentucky. He's got Braylon Hurd, the Nebraska transfer, with him in the backfield. And the first play is a pass, and Tolles will throw for a 9-yard gain to Stephen Gordon as they get the tight end involved in this high-octane offense.
You know, Tom, coming into this game, we were wondering how they were going to open it up, knowing that their strength is at running back, and it looks like they're looking to get Patrick going early with some easy tosses.
So 4 wide and another pass. This one to the flats. Great coverage, but it's enough for a first down to Ryan Timmons. Jordan Landry on the coverage for UT Martin.
Offensive coordinator Neil Brown said to us, you know, he was torn. You know, am I deliberate with my play calling, or do I stand on the gas? We see him substitute after they pick up the first down, but it looks to me like they're trying to get tempo going early.
Freshman running back Stanley Williams, who had the kick return, is now in the backfield. 3 wide set. And this is Stanley Williams with his first college carry, and he takes it past the 45, near the 47. Tano Fears-Perez with the stop for UT Martin. The Skyhawks standout is their middle linebacker, number 40, Tony Bell. He has not been able to make a play yet because Tolles has been getting rid of the ball so quickly.
A good way to neutralize an inside linebacker is to throw it to the perimeter. Opportunity with the inside run for Tony Bell to make his presence felt.
4 wide once again. Opening drive of the season for Kentucky. They go to the screen, and that's blown up at the line of scrimmage. Javis Blue was the receiver and perfectly covered by Marquise Clemens.
Clemens does a great job of diagnosing quickly. You see him come underneath the block and blow Blue up quickly. They were setting the tunnel up, see if they couldn't catch the UT Martin front, try to rush the passer and get upfield quickly. Good job by Clemens of reading the screen.
A loss of 2 leaves 3rd and 6 for the quarterback Patrick Tolles, making his first start since he was a high schooler. His quarterback coach there was former Kentucky great Jared Lorenzen. On 3rd down, he's looking deep, and the deep out is complete for a first down. Let's take a look now at Stinch's stars for today's game.
Well, we won't be, I don't know if we'll even have time to get it in. But right now, as quick as this offense is working, you can see them getting in a rhythm early for Tolles.
Tolles looking deep again. Trying to find Garrett Johnson, who had that first down catch a moment ago, but double coverage. And that incompletion, the first, gives us a chance to check in with Stinch's stars.
You mentioned Tony Bell on UT Martin's side. He'll be all over their defensive formation. Watch him. He'll line up in the line of scrimmage and at his linebacker position in the middle of their defense. And Javis Blue out wide. He's a playmaker for them at the receiver position.
A 4 for 5 start for Patrick Tolles. On the ground, and JoJo Kemp first carry, trying to find the edge. He does so and takes it out of bounds inside the 35-yard line. Leon Carlton escorted him to the sideline.
Tom, you can see Neil Brown getting all the offensive components engaged early in this game. Timmons with a touch, Blue already getting involved in the game. Obviously, Stanley Williams, who we knew we'd see, didn't know that we'd see him quite this early in the game. And now JoJo Kemp showing their depth not only in the backfield but at the receiving core as well.
And they run Dorian Baker onto the field also. 3rd and 2 now as Baker goes in motion. He's a freshman wide receiver. Straight ahead running game, trying to find the marker, and they don't. It'll be a loss of yardage. Bell up there to blow it up.
Now we see Tony Bell. He's right here in the middle of the defense. You got to account for him, and they're going to pull a guard. And it's a blown assignment. You're borrowing an offensive lineman from the right side, Big Ramsey Myers. Either he was misassigned or the lead back. Either way, you got a free hitter that otherwise would have been an easy pickup. So
on 4th and 4, they're going to go for it. They need to get it to the 32. Ball's looking. And through the hands of his intended receiver. And they will turn it over on downs. He was trying to find the freshman from Cleveland Heights, Dorian Baker.
Dorian Baker had to come back and try to fight for a window for his quarterback. Patrick Tolles showing some trust, unable to make the completion. So UT Martin with the stop. They will take over on downs. We'll get our first look at their quarterback when we return. We'll see a superstar on defense today for Kentucky. That's Bud Dupree. He can do a little bit of everything. Well, when we met with defensive coordinator DJ Elliott, he said he compares to some of the best he's coached, and he's coupled with Zadarius Smith, who's a little bit more physical than Bud Dupree, plays the run very well. It's going to make it very difficult for opposing teams to figure out who are you going to try to focus on with these two menaces coming off the edge of the Kentucky defensive front. UT Martin has 6 senior offensive linemen. They've protected their quarterback well over the years, and they've got Jared Neal to start this game. We'll see Dylan Farr back him up maybe as early as the 2nd series. First play is Abu Torre on the ground. Torre gains a few on the right side. So Jared Neal, junior from Hendersonville, Tennessee, completed nearly 58% of his passes last year for 1,500 yards and 9 touchdowns. We expect to see 2 QB system today. It seemed to work for Jason Simpson, head coach, also play caller for UT Martin a season ago, and he's willing to go with it here again today. A little distinct skill set between the 2 quarterbacks. They'll run some zone read, and they do here to keep it on the ground against that Kentucky defense. Look who's in on the play. Josh Forrest, the former wide receiver, now getting the start at middle linebacker, and that linebacking core is a big question mark for Kentucky. That's a welcome sight for the Kentucky coaching staff. That's a question mark for the Wildcats, and a big one. They've never really been in this position where they didn't have a stalwart at the linebacking position. Not often do you take a wide receiver and put him at Mike linebacker. Forrest is an athlete. He needs to play hard-nosed. That time makes a nice downhill tackle. Trying to replace the great Avery Williamson. Now 3rd and 5 for UT Martin, their first possession. Neal has time. Man coverage, and it's right through the hands of Ben Axline. Fred Tiller, returning starter at cornerback, had the coverage for Kentucky. Nice pressure up front by Kentucky. They played man across. And it looked to me like C.J. Johnson, a guy they're very high on in their defensive front, was able to get penetration, get a nice shot on Jared Neal as he released the football. That's a great opening series for the Kentucky defense that last season, Tom, they showed flashes of being at least more competent. I mean, it wasn't a dominant unit. There's no question about it. But there were some moments where they felt like they could build.
James Satterfield with a high punt, plenty of hang time, and DeMarco Robinson makes a fair catch right at the 25-yard line. We've traded possessions, yet no score here early in Kentucky. Patrick Tolles in the offense coming back on the field.
SEC Network College Football is presented by Allstate. Are you in good hands?
How about that honest reaction from Zadarius Smith when he learned that he would be, in many ways, the face of the program, at least around town, on the billboards and pocket schedules and the like. An emotional response. And that's a good-looking billboard, unless you're an offensive tackle, right?
I was about to say, man, depends on your perspective. Looks good if you're a defender, perhaps. There's not many offensive tackles that want to see that.
Patrick Tolles back behind center. He's started this game 4 for 6. He's got Stanley Williams and Josh Clemens in the backfield with him. And Josh Clemens will get his first carry in 3 years for this Kentucky program as he takes it up the middle for a gain of 4.
Josh Clemens is a great story. I mean, he's one of those guys who does it right. One of the guys that have stuck it out through some coaching changes, through a lot of injuries. We've seen a lot of running backs already rotating into the personnel groupings for Kentucky.
He's coming off multiple injuries. Last year it was a torn Achilles. It kept Clemens out each of the last 2 years. Now Stanley Williams, freshman, takes it up the middle. And a couple of yards on the ground for Williams. Tony Bell in on another tackle. How about this? Last time Josh Clemens appeared in a game October 8th, 2011 against the Gamecocks. Moves Like Jagger was the #1 song. LSU was #1 in college football. And the starting 5 for UK men's basketball, they're all in the NBA. Michael Kidd, Gilchrist, Anthony Davis, Darius Miller, Lamb, and Teague.
Well, I mean, he could have played last year, and that'd be true about the Kentucky basketball team.
Accurate.
Right? I can't believe Moves Like Jagger's that old.
He's still rocking. 3rd and 2. Tolles to throw. Finds his tight end. Great hands. And this is a first down. Joey Herrick is a big-sized wide receiver that they found a way to drag across the middle. Junior out of Kilgore Junior College. He'll line up in the slot.
You see Tolles. He's quick. Get the football out. And now with the completion, they get right back over the ball.
And incomplete. Trying to fire it to DeMarco Robinson in open field. So a couple of runs before that completion to Herrick for a fresh set of downs. I'm interested to see throughout the season what kind of balance this Kentucky offense will have between run and pass.
Yeah, that's the real question. When we were meeting with the coaches, they said we love our running backs, real comfortable there. Got a lot of young faces at receiver and a new starter at quarterback who could throw the deep ball. But so far, the distribution has been pretty balanced.
JoJo Kemp spins at the line of scrimmage and finds a few more before Tony Bell brings him down. Last year, Kemp was their leading rusher as a freshman.
See already, Tom, JoJo Kemp feels better this year. He was injured last year, had some bone spurs, and they actually tailored some of the play calling around the fact that he just couldn't cut. And if he did, he would have to throttle down rather than come out of breaks cleanly. As you see that spin move, evidence to the help that JoJo Kemp seems to have coming into this season.
3rd and 3 now and 4 wide. They fake the sweep. This is a quarterback run for Tolles. It may surprise some. He's 6'5", 238, but he was a great runner at Highlands High School in a run-oriented offense.
He may have been a better option for the more run-oriented offense that Kentucky ended up having to go to a season ago, but they wanted to preserve that redshirt year. But it's not like that read option is not available and something that he can't be adept at.
He's in front of JoJo Kemp now. UT Martin shows blitz, and we have our first flag of the game. David Smith, our white hat today. Jordan Swindle getting the start at left tackle. He was the one who moved. This Kentucky offensive line will look different next week when Darian Miller returns. He's been suspended for a game after 24 consecutive starts. That would put Swindle back over on the right side where redshirt freshman Kyle Meadows starts today. Well, backs him up to 1st and 15. On play action. 3 guys deep. Over the middle and caught. All the way inside the 5 to Blue. And a burst and goal for Kentucky.
Excellent protection. They go full protection. Nice pocket for Tolles to find Blue, and he got underneath the coverage of Walter Evans. And this is what Kentucky was missing last year in their passing game, was the ability to drive the football down the field. 44-yard completion.
And they're going to throw at the goal line. Fade route, corner, knocked away. DeMarco Robinson, the intended receiver. Multiple flags down on Jordan Landry.
You see Neil Brown wanting to be aggressive. He can. It's a rebuilt UT Martin secondary. Only one returning starter. You can see the touch.
Landry, the junior from Tucker, Georgia.
See Robinson just trying to get a little bit of separation. That ball might have been a little bit underthrown if Evans gets his head around.
So they'll move him closer on 1st and goal again. JoJo Kemp this time on the right side, and a big hole and a Kentucky touchdown to start the season. Eight-play, 75-yard drive, a little bit of everything on that drive for Kentucky, including the big play to Blue. Austin McGinnis to attempt the extra point, and that is true. We're midway through the first quarter in Lexington, and Kentucky is on the board, leading UT Martin by touchdown. After the big play, a touchdown plunge for JoJo Kemp. 7-0 Kentucky. The Cats keeping it simple here early on.
Yeah, this is just a simple zone play that they run with JoJo Kemp down on the goal line. And look at the split that Ramsey Myers gets. Just as alignment alone creates some separation. They climb up to the second level behind Big John Toth at the center position. There's a huge hole for JoJo Kemp to run into the end zone. It's a nice inside run. You're right. We saw a little bit of everything. They've spread the football around. They've pulled some linemen, some quick hitting screens, and they've tried to push the football downfield. I think the coaching staff has to be pleased so far with what they've seen out of their offense in general, and certainly Patrick Tolles, who you would think would be pretty nervous, Tom, given his experience so far here at Kentucky. Finally able to get a start, and he got settled in pretty quickly.
Well, he hadn't started in 3 years, since back when he was a high schooler. They turned it over and down to their first possession, scored on their second. Austin McGinnis to put it in the air. LaDevin Fair and Jordan Landry back. Touched by one of the receivers, and this is Landry from the 10. Still on his feet, and finally gets popped down past the 28-yard line. College football season continues on the SEC Network today. At 4, Arkansas takes on number 6 Auburn on the Plains, presented by Dr. Pepper. Then at 7:30, it's Southern Miss in Starkville to battle Mississippi State, presented by Regions Bank. Both games also live on Watch ESPN. And Arkansas will come out with that power running game that Brett Bielema brought with him from Madison.
Expect to see a lot of runs in that ball game, but maybe unheralded. The top running back tandem returning this year, second only to Alabama's backfield, is there in Arkansas. And Alex Collins and Jonathan Williams, they pile up the yards. They just got to translate them into touchdowns.
Second series for Jared Neal, and he hands off to Abu Toure again. Toure trying to run behind that veteran offensive lineman, picks up 3. You got Matt Axline at center, making his 34th consecutive start, but this is his first start at center team. And Charles Sweeten, big number 76 at left tackle there, making his 44th consecutive start. He's his second team All-OVC player last year. You told me I had to talk offensive line early in the game.
And you've done it. You've satisfied it. Thank you.
On 2nd and 7, Toure again finds room right in the heart of the Kentucky defense, and he's out to the 45 for a first down. A.J. Stamps and Ashley Lowry combined to bring him down.
That time they ran right behind Sweeten, and he's on Bud Dupree. Nice lead block up on Josh Forrest. who had to fill down from his middle linebacking position. 13-yard gain for Toure. And he's a guy, you see a lot of these bounce-back players, and coaches talk about that. Division I guy starting out at FBS level at Utah State.
It played for Gary Anderson out in Logan. Toure gained 509 yards on the ground last year. They go right back to him, and he's got room on the left side this time. Past midfield for the first time. Fred Tiller, returning starter at cornerback with the tackle. Hey, head coach Jason Simpson is the dean of coaches in the OVC. He took UT Martin to the FCS playoffs in 2006. 2 more years they were a play away from an OVC championship. And with that, a berth in the FCS postseason. Neal will check with the sideline. John Bond is their first-year offensive coordinator. He came from UMass. And there is another huge hole on the left side for Toure. He's getting into the second level. Another tackle for Fred Tiller. That's not exactly what DJ Elliott and Mark Stoops want for the cornerbacks to lead the team in tackles.
Well, what's concerning about it is that they're finding running room towards the edges of the defensive front for Kentucky. That's intended to be a strength. This time it's to Jason Hatcher, number 6. And they just get a hat on a hat and run him right out of the picture. And right now, UT Martin utilizing their strength, which is that veteran offensive front, and finding some success in an unanticipated area there towards the edge of the defensive front of Kentucky.
They've run 7 plays. 6 of them have been Toure rushing. First carry for Trent Garland. Melvin Lewis with the stop. Rotate a few different interior linemen on that defensive front for Kentucky, including Lewis, who redshirted last year. They replaced 3 senior defensive tackles.
That was another area that the Kentucky coaches seemed pretty happy with. I mean, you lose Mr. Cobble, Dante Rump from a season ago. Well, Mike Douglas was playing a lot of key snaps. We've already mentioned Johnson with the pressure. The interior of the front has played pretty well so far.
Another opportunity for Trent Garland. UT Martin has only attempted 1 pass thus far. And on his own read, Garland trying to find left side. Got a key block to get a couple of yards. But that is about it. Sam Curtis with the nice block on the edge. Ryan Flanagan, junior college transfer, with the stop from his weak side linebacker spot.
It's the linebacking area. We mentioned it earlier. In the absence of an Avery Williamson, who is quite the tackling machine, it typically is a prolific tackler in the linebacking corps at Kentucky. Ryan Flanagan's a guy that can bolster some of that. They've had a really good tradition of linebackers here at Kentucky. And on a big 3rd down, see if they can't get pressure off the edge. Bud Dupree and Zadarius Smith.
3rd and 5. They go out to the running back. Nowhere to go. Coverage by Josh Forrest on Garland out of the backfield. And no gain.
And that's a strength. We've seen Josh Forrest now. He's made a tackle running downhill, but now in space. Sometimes when you get an inside linebacker matched up with a running back outside, not always the best matchup. Forrest all over it, showing the range that he has.
They line up to go for it. Facing a 4th and 6. Jared Neal is 1 for 2 through the air. Play clock winding down. They get the snap off, and a pooch punt will turn out to be a beauty. And it is tapped into the end zone for a touchback. The play was there to be made. Rod Wright just couldn't stop it before the goal line. So a 39-yard pooch punt from Jared Neal. And Kentucky will have it when we return. I don't know if Memorial Hall has ever been viewed like this. Matt Stitchcomb piloting our drone here on campus. It's a 7-0 Kentucky lead. 2:20 to go in the first quarter. What a beautiful day in the Bluegrass State. And a beautiful look at this campus from high above.
Now, if I were piloting that drone, it would have promptly crashed into Memorial Hall.
Raylan Hurd, the Nebraska transfer, is in the backfield next to Patrick Tolles. Tolles will come out firing, finds his tight end, Stephen Borden. Borden started his career as a defensive end at Southwestern Assemblies and They want to get the tight end more involved this year. He only had 3 catches last year. Let's go.
Stephen Borden looks very familiar when you peek through that face mask.
We're in white makeup. 2nd and 3. Big gain straight up the middle. And Braylon Hurd, welcome to Kentucky. 73 yards.
Another great job. John Toth at center, able to climb up onto Tony Bell. And Braylon Hurd will bang your head on the goalpost. That's a quick way to introduce yourself to the fan base, that's for sure. And you can see why they're excited about him at running back.
He only plays for coaches from Youngstown, Ohio. Bo Pelini at Nebraska. Mark Stoops now here at Kentucky. And so the former I-back has left that designation back in Lincoln. He's now a running back, and 73 yards later, he has his first touchdown since Nebraska was in the Big Ten title game against Wisconsin.
Another nice hole. Great job up front. It's another one of the strengths that these coaches felt like they were much improved on the offensive line. And we've seen this talented running back core, and it's been more than just 3, equip themselves nicely in this game so far, Tom. You could see why the coaches are excited. Braylon Hurd was thought to be the leader, but it seems as if there's an equal amount of talent spread them out across all of these guys. Even Michael Horton getting in there as a freshman.
6 different running backs have carried the ball for Mark Stoops today. Like Hurd, a product of Cardinal Mooney High School in Youngstown, Ohio, along with the Pelini brothers, the Stoops brothers, and many others. Braylon Hurd wears that number 5 to emulate Reggie Bush. Showed some Reggie Bush-like speed that time.
He did. Didn't need many of Reggie's moves, that's for sure. Not a lot to impede him between where he took the handoff and getting to the end zone. Well, that's a quick strike for the Kentucky offense. Was able to string together a nice drive on the previous possession.
This Kentucky offense has been versatile early on. Two big plays, one on the ground, one through the air. Devin Fair and Jordan Landry back to receive this kick from Austin McGinnis. And a couple of steps in. Landry thought about it. Well, the UT Martin defense has seen a lot of different looks from Kentucky thus far. Let's go down to Heather Mitz for more.
Over here on the UT Martin sideline, even before the last series, Jeff Bird, the defensive coordinator, was telling the guys they looked slow. They needed to pick it up. They went in there. Obviously, UK scored. And afterwards, Carswell's over here on the side. Stop the bleeding. Favre's coming over, trying to give them a little bit of momentum to get those guys going. Hopefully, the defense can pick it up.
And those are two guys, Heather, that know about SEC play. Ronald Carswell started at Alabama, and Dylan Favre, who we may see in a quarterback, started at Mississippi State. So they know what it takes. Jared Neal, though, gets his 3rd consecutive series at QB for UT Martin.
Not much going in the passing game so far for UT Martin, an area that they thought maybe they could exploit.
Let Devin Fair on the ground, and he gets flipped in the backfield. A.J. Stamps with the big-time stop.
You can see why Coach Stoops singled him out in our meetings the other day. Excited about safety A.J. Stamps. This is in run support. You get upfield that quickly for a tackle for loss from his safety position. They're going to be able to do a lot with him. A JUCO transfer, another new piece of talent introduced to this program.
So Fair out. Najee Ray will try his turn in the backfield. Got to set up the screen, and Fair has nowhere to go. No gain, and that will bring up 3rd down. It's Bud Dupree, who they will move around a lot, sometimes with his hand in the dirt, sometimes as more of an outside linebacker.
Showing that versatility. And we mentioned Tony Bell and the things that he can do. Bud Dupree, not just a great pass rusher, but a guy who spent time standing up at the 2nd level, the linebacking position. for previous coordinators, they can utilize his skills in a lot of different ways.
3rd and 13. Here comes Dupree. They run it up the middle with Ray. And Ray will set up a 4th and short. Khalid Henderson with the tackle.
Khalid Henderson, a guy backing up Ryan Flanagan, who made a couple of stops the previous drive for UT Martin. And Jason Simpson says not worth it to try to push it here. Poor field position. And the distance to go doesn't indicate to go for it here, to try to get the ball away and slow down a Kentucky offense that's caught fire.
UT Martin will be facing a 4th and 4 when we return for the 2nd quarter. But for the Kentucky fans here today, it's a start they wanted to see. All merry, all happy and bright. It's a 2-touchdown lead for UK. Back at Commonwealth Stadium, and UT Martin to punt it away. DeMarco Robinson takes it in at the 27. Flag on the return already, and Robinson gets wrestled to the ground after a gain of perhaps 3. Tom Hart, Matt Stinchcomb, and Heather Mintz from Commonwealth Stadium, where Kentucky's off to a great start to this season. And we'll see Patrick Tolles come back out with the offense after this announcement. So that'll back Kentucky up just a little bit.
With the 10-yard penalty,
A lot to be happy about if you're on the Kentucky sideline so far in this game. The punt returns, though, the return game in general is something that the coaching staff and this program is looking to get going again. They need to get some yardage. That's kind of the hidden yardage, great field position. And it's a great way to get it, is in that return game, something they almost forfeited the past couple of seasons.
Little toss. This will be a pass in the book, and Ryan Timmons is going to turn it into a big gain. First down for Kentucky, gain of 15.
You know, we only had so much time in the open, but Ryan Timmons, he's another guy that's going to get up. You're right. That's a great handoff. Counts as a pass in case he drops it. And he's able to get some separation and make some folks miss an open field.
JoJo Kemp in the backfield next to Tolles. Kemp will release. Deep ball looking for the receiver, and we'll get a flag and another pass interference on UT Martin. Leon Carlton, the second. Tripped up TV Williams.
See Tolles, he was targeting TV Williams, but he had an opportunity to go to the top as well. It looked like Dorian Baker was running free.
Well, they have rotated in more receivers than we expected to see. Blake Bowen is now on the field, freshman out of South Carolina. Next to Dorian Baker, another freshman. This is a young and talented skill set for Kentucky. JoJo Kemp, nice move in the backfield. A little shake and bake. Instead of being hit behind the line, he turns it into nearly a gain of 8. Brian Isaac with the stop for UT Martin.
It's another area where Kentucky be able to utilize these running backs, get strong push on the inside. Right now, West, Toth, and Myers doing a good job of doing that.
JoJo Kemp stopped behind the line of scrimmage by DeLuce Jackson. Another question for Kentucky will be tempo, and specifically how many snaps they can get in. When Neil Brown was at Texas Tech his first year, they averaged 81 offensive plays. Last year, Kentucky didn't even average 7. Thus far, 22 snaps.
He's got to be pleased. You know, what the key to that is, though, to pile up plays, he's got to get first downs. And the challenge they had last year was situations just like this. 3rd, medium to long. Not easy to convert.
And on 3rd and 4, it's a first down and more. Braylon Hurd again. and Hurd is in again.
See, after the handoff, and Hurd's able once again to get clean into the second level. Good job inside. And Patrick Tolles carried out the fake nicely. They faked a little bubble screen just enough to get the secondary and second level defenders to flinch. And by then, Hurd was by him. He came in 6.7 yards a carry when he left Nebraska. A pretty sporty number this year.
Bo Pelini stroking his cat, wondering what could have been.
That's right.
Braylon Hurd, 2 carries today, 116 yards and 2 touchdowns. And the hurdle at the end is what made this one so special and allowed him to finish. It's been a big play kind of day for UK already in Neil Brown's Kentucky offense. Shades of Hal Mummy in the building today. Big play to Javis Blue, went for 45 yards to set up the first touchdown. And then Braylon Hurd, a 73-yard sprint right up the middle. He would follow that up with a shifty 43-yard run.
I tell you what, the big plays and Braylon Hurd getting to participate in 2 of them. A lot of them coming on the ground. Not that surprising, given the strength that they have at that position and the size advantage that they have up front versus UT Martin. But you can see there where the drives are kicking off. They've been some quick ones thanks to the big plays, the big chunk yardage plays that they've been able to generate.
Turned it over on downs their first possession. They have yet to be stopped since. The OVC's kind of struggling here the opening weekend of college football against FBS opponents. Minnesota hammered Eastern Illinois Thursday 42-20. Michigan State and Mark D'Antonio beat Jacksonville State, the preseason favorite in the OVC, 45-7 last night. So an average score of 44-14. And this number won't help. So see if UT Martin can get something going on their offensive side of the ball. Fair will take a knee. The one Kentucky wide receiver is already banged up. For more on that, let's take you to the sideline and Heather Mitz.
Yeah, it's actually Javis Blue, one of the guys that they're really high on. He came off the field. They said his ankle wasn't that bad, but since then they put ice on it. I'm going to keep eye on him, but I think the wide receivers are doing okay without him, guys.
Heather, thanks. So Javis Blue, the senior who underwent shoulder surgery, it cost him some time last spring. He's really only been full speed the last 2.5 weeks. He doesn't even have socks on at this point.
Yeah, you need those socks. But you know, when you look at him, Javis Blue, they're going to be careful with him. They're going to need him to kind of lead some of these younger players that they're going to have now contribute at the receiver position.
And we've got a Dylan Favre sighting now for UT Martin, former Mississippi State Bulldog, Brett Favre's nephew out of Kiln, Mississippi. And he will throw his first time in a double coverage, and it's tipped away by Tiller. Well, the name Favre is synonymous with taking chances. He threw into double coverage that time. He'll also scramble with it a little bit. But last season, he was second in the nation in completion percentage. That doesn't sound like a guy who takes chances.
That's a guy that can keep plays alive, though, and stretch secondaries. I'm sure that's partly why we're seeing him now in the ball game, to see if he can't spark something offensively, innovate after the snap if you have to.
Devin Fair is next to him in the backfield now on 2nd and 10. They'll put it on the ground, and Fair gets wrestled down after a gain of 3. Dylan Favre, last year, the Ohio Valley Conference Newcomer of the Year, but he missed 3 games with injury. Transferred from Mississippi State and then Pearl River Community College in Mississippi. At Magnolia State, he was their high school player of the year, and he's grown a lot. The 23-year-old has an 18-month-old son, Xavier. He said that has kept me grounded, brought me back down to earth. He said football, I realize now, isn't the only thing. But now his concern is finding 7 yards to keep his first drive alive. Over the middle, complete, and that is a first down for Rod Wright. Nearly stripped out of his hands, and Favre will hurry them to the line.
That time, Bud Dupree got a great get off in the pass rush, but they had chip help from the running back, able to give Favre enough time.
This is fair, and he finds the edge. That's been a soft spot for Kentucky today. When UT Martin has had success, it's been getting running backs to the corners.
And this is something that when the coaches look at the film, not going to be very happy. Back-to-back big plays. You can't let one play hurt you 2 plays in a row. Jason Simpson over there on his sideline wanting to build on that success now. Favre maybe providing the spark he was looking for when he was inserted for this series.
Favre threw for over 1,000 yards last year in limited time. And he will keep it on the zone. Reed runs through Dupree and stretches to the 40. There is an obvious uptick in the tempo for UT Martin with Favre in the game. Main reason they've converted a couple of first downs. Fair. Pardon me, Najee Ray on the carry. Mike Douglas in the bottom of that pile for Kentucky.
Najee Ray is another guy we talked about with UT Martin, one of the fastest guys that they have on their team.
3rd and 3 through the hands of Rod Wright, just a little bit hot out of the hands of Favre, and down 21-0. The offense is going to stay on the field here for UT Martin.
That was a lucky break there for UT Martin. I mean for Kentucky rather, with it going off his fingertips. But Dylan Favre is an excellent scrambler. He's a mobile quarterback. I'd be surprised if they don't move the pocket. Although from a personnel standpoint, that looks very unlikely. You look at this formation, Dylan Favre, he may have to stretch this play from the pocket.
4th and 4. Over the middle, short of the sticks, extra effort, gets a first down for Kyle Carrick. And a huge 4th down conversion for Dylan Favre and the Skyhawks.
Got the matchup that they wanted. Kyle Carrick, a Michigan State transfer, and he was matched up versus Flanagan. As you see Bud Dupree, he got tripped up a little bit, beat the block clean, but you see there Flanagan trailing in coverage. Nice timing, good accuracy, and Favre very much in rhythm.
Got a man. Wow, intercepted by A.J. Stamps.
We've seen A.J. Stamps come up and run support and make a big play. And now we see him make a one-handed stab to intercept this football. That was a big void for Kentucky defensively last year. Where are the turnovers? They get great pressures. Zadarius Smith in the face of Favre as he releases it. And Stamps, he's just playing deep center field. And he comes over, makes a play on the ball in the air. You can see Favre lamenting that decision. He threw under duress, and A.J. Stamps already showing what types of contributions he can make to this defense.
UK was 2nd worst in the country last season with only 3 interceptions, only 1 from the secondary. Stanley Williams is now in at tailback. Williams, flag on the play. Brian Isaac with the coverage. I thought Favre had him open and he just waited too long.
Ball hung on him just a little bit, and I wonder if he was worried about stepping into the throw with Smith bearing down on him.
Zach West caught holding. He's getting the start at left guard. Coaches praised him for his improved lateral movement. The Kentucky lineup, offensive line, I should say, that it's going to look different next week once they get Darian Miller back from his 1-game suspension. Shuffle some guys around, and they'll have more depth for week 2 and going forward.
The coaches indicated we'll see a couple of freshmen at some point in this game as well, looking to build depth as he gets separation.
A long 1st and 15, and Tolles to throw from his end zone. Wide open, first down, and Timmons changes direction, looking for a block. He found his way through the white shirts, and Timmons finally taken down inside the 40. Kentucky may have gotten away with a block in the back for the extra 5 yards, but as it stands, a 56-yard gain.
Ryan Timmons probably scores a touchdown if there's enough on this football, but you'll see him as he releases from the field. He's going to get behind the coverage. He was the inside receiver, and you see just an exchange amongst the coverage, and he just gets loose. If that ball doesn't hang, Ryan Timmons gets all the way down the field for touchdown.
We've got a timeout on the field, 5 minutes into the second quarter. Kentucky's offense was backed up. They are rolling once again. Kentucky leads UT Martin 21-0 here, 5 minutes into the second quarter. Tom Hart alongside Matt Stinchcomb. It's been a big play offense, which is exactly what these Kentucky fans and their offensive coordinator wanted.
Yeah, a lot of explosive plays. That's why I'm sweating up here. It's the heat off the explosions. We've seen 4 of them already offensively, and they've been balanced in that regard. 2 in the ground and 2 through the air. You know, really the only thing that Neil Brown, as offensive coordinator, might want is a chance to put together another drive. We've really only seen one where Kentucky was able to sustain a scoring drive.
Well, Patrick Tolles has been accurate here early on, and they give it to the freshman Stanley Williams. He's throwing for a 2-yard loss by DeLuce Jackson, senior from Warner Robins, Georgia. He's Tony Bell's backup at middle linebacker. We haven't talked much about Bell, who's on the field right now, but he came in as a preseason player of the year in the FCS. He's on the Buck Buchanan Award watch list. Tolles wants a deep ball. He's got man coverage and incomplete. Threw it to the inside of DeMarco Robinson.
Right on cue, Tom. You mentioned Tony Bell. He's lined up at the end of the line of scrimmage. He's everywhere. He hesitates just a little bit, and that's enough to confuse DJ Warren. He's able to get a shot on Tolles. Tolles able to get rid of the football, but still took a hit. You see Tony Bell. A lot of accolades, a lot of attention and eyeballs on him, a converted safety, and he calls all their defensive signals regardless of where he lines up.
4th in school history with 14.5 sacks coming in. 3rd and 11. Tolles looking inside. He'll go outside, and that is brought down right at the marker by Garrett Johnson. Good progression by Tolles. So wait for Johnson to come open.
You know, by my count, Tom, we've seen Tolles target Garrett Johnson at least 3 times. 2 for nice completions. Shows a good job. Strong hands with the ball in the air and able to complete the reception. And you're right. You can see Tolles working his way through the progression and operating in through the route tree and operating this air raid offense.
And he will carry it for a first down for the 2nd time today. That time he only needed 1 yard, and spot is past our unofficial yellow line. Keep the drive alive. Well, this is what you said right when we started. Neil Brown wanted to see a sustained drive, and they're getting it done in a myriad of ways.
Yeah, it was ignited by the big play downfield to Timmons. Well, maybe in some ways it's a blessing that he didn't take it all the way in off the big toss for a touchdown to give this offense an opportunity to get needed reps and put a drive together.
Play action, pressure coming on the run. Tolles fires it, and that is incomplete for Robinson. Well, we've seen Tolles run for a couple of first downs. They say he is more shifty in the pocket than you might expect for his size. 6'5", 240.
That's a big body, that's for sure. Came in handy on the QB sneak. It'll come in handy as well as pressure comes. You know, when you look at it, it's not all often that you get a perfectly clean pocket to work in. That previous pass, Keith Jones from his nose tackle position was able to get upfield and get in Tolles' face as he released it.
Incomplete. Trying to find Timmons. A little extra action between Timmons, Aaron Sims, who had the coverage.
These are the 3rd downs that Kentucky found themselves in on offense seemingly all season long. They didn't run a lot of plays, but from a percentage standpoint, no team in the conference faced more 3rd downs. And it seemed as if, when you look at them statistically, all 3rd and long, it's hard to be able to string together first downs when you're having that kind of difficulty on a 3rd down.
That's why they were 115th in the nation in 3rd down conversion percentage last year. Here's an all-out blitz, and it's perfect for the screen. And Blake Bone is inside the 5 and inside the pylon. Touchdown, Cats. That score came from the grease board.
Great play call by Neil Brown. You know, you anticipate it. It's a third and long situation. You see the offensive coordinator, former receiver. He's familiar. He's played an air raid offense. Couldn't have timed it better. The defense accommodated that play call perfectly with an all-out blitz.
Austin McGinnis has been busy. Another extra point good for the freshman. Patrick Tolles off to a great start. Looked one way, came back the other. And Blake Bone did the rest of the work. 29 yards later, it's a 28-point lead. What a view of the beautiful campus here in Lexington, UK, with a large lead on UT Martin. 8:10 to go in the second quarter. 28-0 Wildcats. You discussed the fact that they had issues on third down conversions last year. That is not an issue thus far today.
No, they've done a good job of finding ways to get those conversions. Certainly the best way to convert a third down is for a touchdown. Blake Bone, another one of these young wide receivers, it's learning the system on the fly. They've been very pleased with these guys. They're able to provide depth, and in this ball game, they've been key contributors.
It was a two-way street for Kentucky last year. Their opponents converted 20 more third downs than the Cats did. So it wasn't just an offensive issue.
No, clearly, both sides could use some improvement on third down, a crucial down at that.
Another boomer of a kick, and this one will carry over Jordan Landry's head. So today, Kentucky 5 for 7 on third down conversions. UT Martin just 1 for 5. Nice day so far for McGinnis. Dylan Favre ran the last series for UT Martin before it ended with an interception for the senior from Kiln, Mississippi. Favre was a high school superstar more than 8,600 yards of total offense as a prepster. Here's the difference thus far. At the time, his 8,654 yards are the second highest single season mark in high school football history. The entire country. Here's Abu Toure. Toure gets depleted at the 30. A.J. Stamps has been an impact player today for Kentucky.
Impact. He should have been our impact player, right? A.J. Stamps. What a great shot. Probably couldn't hear it. I talked all over it. You could still hear it. A.J. Stamps, that's twice now in run support. Keeping in mind that previous score back in the Kentucky offense, they got the ball off an interception, which, as we mentioned, didn't happen very often last year for Kentucky.
Stamps is a big hitter, especially for a guy who was a cornerback in junior college at East Mississippi Community College. Favre hands it off again. Toure has room, and he takes it past the 40. So Abu Toure, Utah State transfer, has shown glimpses. Khalid Henderson and Stamps with the stop. How can we measure the second and third levels of Kentucky's defense today? What should we expect?
Well, you know, when you look at the linebacking core, they've been active. We've seen Josh Forrest make some plays from his linebacking position, not only in the run game, but the passing game. Secondary, it's going to be a challenge just because of the dearth of passing attempts that we've seen, but Favre has enjoyed some success.
Toure out of the backfield this time, and he'll take it past midfield, wrestled down by Josh Forrest. Hey, we've got a first glimpse today of the five-star recruit, Matt Elam. A couple of plays for Elam, who is listed at 6'7", 375.
You're that big, you probably need a couple of extra stars, don't you? I mean, is 5 stars enough when you're 6'7", 375 pounds? He might be a 7-star recruit. They like him in the middle of the defense.
Toure's been the workhorse for UT Martin, but this time it's Najee Ray. And Ray picks up a few before Henderson and Zadarius Smith bring him down.
Smith, we've seen him He's able to get a couple of pressures. He does a good job of holding the point of attack and rundowns. And some of the depth that Kentucky is working to develop in their interior defensive front. You look at how many up-tempo offenses that you'll see, at least within the Southeastern Conference. And that's pivotal to be able to roll guys in and out.
Favre getting happy feet. Now he's sad because he's brought down for the first sack of the season. Mike Douglas is in on it. Douglas had 1 sack last year, and this is a UT Martin offensive line that over the last 3 years has protected its quarterback maybe better than anybody.
Mike Douglas is right here, and he's just going to work to get upfield, working the outside shoulder. He's just able to collapse that outside hand of Kenneth Crenshaw. Like I said, I like the way the interior defensive front has played so far for Kentucky this game.
3rd and 13 and movement up front. This will make it a 3rd and 18. To Darren Bond, making his first start of his career. He's a redshirt freshman at a Haywood County High School in Brownsville, Tennessee, redshirted last year. And Bond will come off the field.
You can see any time on the previous possession, UT Martin was able to get into a rhythm before an interception derailed the drive, but negative yardage plays to get you off schedule on offense.
Pressure coming. They set up the screen. This is Ray, and Ray gets taken down in the open field by J.D. Harmon. The sophomore from Paducah with a key stop on 3rd and long, and UT Martin will have to punt it away.
Tommy, you mentioned, how do you evaluate the secondary play in this game? And I would say from a run support standpoint, we've seen some nice plays, specifically from the safety position. A.J. Stamps, J.D. Harmon is a guy who was ineligible a season ago, 2012, made a couple of plays, a couple of picks, led the team in interceptions that year, but he'll add to the depth of what looks to be an improved secondary for the Wildcats.
Satterfield's been a great punter for the Skyhawks, and he drives DeMarco Robinson inside his own 10. Flag down. James Satterfield has a top 2 season single punting seasons in school history for UT Martin. And that was another good one, a 50-yard punt and an 11-yard return as it stands. Blocking the back on an 11-yard return.
Somewhat promising start, as you can see, right as he was being tackled. And punt returns continue to be maybe the one area, outside runs, that Kentucky can't be happy with, but otherwise, offense has been very explosive as built.
All right, coming up on the SEC halftime report, Mr. SEC Tony Barnhart and I look at this unbelievable game with Kentucky. We got your top 15 matchup, LSU and Wisconsin. Arkansas Auburn coming up next after this game. Back to you guys in Lexington.
All right, Peter, thanks. Can't go wrong with Coach Barnhart in the studio, can you? Kentucky in control here. A busy day on the SEC network and throughout the SEC. West Virginia takes on Alabama in Atlanta today on ESPN2. That's a 3:30 kick from the Georgia Dome. Missouri's home against the Jackrabbits of South Dakota State. And then Arkansas and Auburn. Wow, what a start to the season on Thursday night down in Columbia, huh? Josh Clemens with his 2nd carry. Did that result surprise you?
No, I called that. Everybody, in fact, I was one of the few. No, I think it shocked everybody.
Don't hurt your hand.
I think I shredded my rotator cuff trying to pat myself. No, I didn't call it. In fact, it appeared as if even the Gamecocks were surprised by that performance.
UT Martin uses another timeout. trailing 28-zip, and we'll take a break with them. Around the SEC, Texas A&M annihilated South Carolina. Steve Spurrier wasn't happy with his new look defense. They hung 52 on him at Kenny Hill in his first start. 511 yards, a school record. Aggies 680 total yards of offense. Big games today, including Georgia taking on Clemson at 5:30 on ESPN. That will be a big one for both programs. And Alabama has settled on Blake Sims to get the start against West Virginia.
Now that's one to watch for sure. That quarterback race, if you want to call it that, at Alabama, and how that's kind of unfolded. A lot different than 2011. Game clock issues, but certainly Blake Sims with an opportunity. He knows the Alabama way of doing things, quote unquote, but he's been pushed hard by Jacob Coker.
Michael Horton is in the backfield next to Patrick Tolles on his 2nd and 9. They'll go play action. Pressure came from Bell, floated up, and it is incomplete. Leaping try by Timmons, but once again, it's Tony Bell who impacts the play by getting in the face of Patrick Tolles.
Bell once again, he makes a living spending time in offensive backfields from his linebacking position. This time, you can see we talk about the improved mechanics of Tolles, but that time falling back and away from the throw rather than being able to step into it. There's some new rules protecting quarterbacks this year. No low hits on the quarterback. Of course, the targeting rule's been documented. That time, Tolles unable to step into the throw. Timmons not able to make the completion.
Bell wants to come again on 3rd and 9. He'll hesitate and drop into coverage. And Tolles fires to the perimeter. That's complete for a first down. Javis Blue will move the chains again. And you talked about Patrick Tolles, his improved footwork, his improved accuracy, his shortened release. You got to credit a local guy for a lot of that. Donnie Walker runs some area camps here in the Lexington area and throughout the state. And he was the guy that Tolles turned to in the offseason as his quarterback's coach, because Neil Brown isn't allowed to work with his quarterback with a ball outside of the 15 spring practices and then once fall camp starts. So if you want to improve your mechanics using a football, which is the only way to do it, you got to go outside the system.
Yeah, there's almost no other way to get it done. You know, Neil Brown said, I wouldn't have had enough time to start working with his mechanics. I got other quarterbacks and an offense to install.
Pressure coming up the middle, and that one's a little bit low but complete. Dorian Baker. What helped Neil Brown was the fact that Donnie Walker has basically the same terminology and system in place, thanks to Tony Franklin, who started the system, as he calls it. And so for Patrick Tolles, it wasn't just mechanics, but using the terminology, being used to play calls, that there was no disruption of his learning process.
Yeah, the fact that, you know, you look at some of these quote-unquote quarterback gurus, the George Whitfields of this world, guys that, you don't hear a lot of coaches that are real thrilled with their quarterbacks working with them necessarily, because it's a departure of what they're coaching them day in and day out.
They'll take a timeout, facing a 3rd and 2 with 2:10 to go before the half here at Commonwealth Stadium. And there's a key here for Patrick Tolles when it came to the mental aspect of the job and earning the job as the #1 quarterback at Kentucky. His grandpa Jim Bunning is a baseball Hall of Famer through a perfect game. His high school quarterback coach was Kentucky great Jared Lorenzen. They call him Patty Ice, and yes, he plays a harmonica. We have yet to hear that, but with our All Access on the SEC Network, that's probably coming soon. You know, when Neil Brown sat down with him in the offseason, and as Heather mentioned to start the show, told him he had to look in the mirror and decide if he was dedicated to it. One thing that Neil Brown had working for him is that he had lost quarterback competitions with 2 different staffs. And Neil pointed this out to us. He said, listen, Randy Sanders, the previous OC, is a good coach. So you can't blame Randy Sanders and Neil Brown. It's not us. It's you.
Yeah, you don't have to take my word for it. I mean, you've heard it before. Randy Sanders, he knows good quarterbacks. He coached at Tennessee. He's seen the Peyton Mannings, the Team Martins. He was the quarterbacks coach at FSU. So he's seen a Jameis Winston up close. So it's not as if he doesn't know what he's talking about. So Neil Brown certainly had that fail-safe. And I think that got the attention of Patrick Tolles clearly.
On 3rd and 2, they go right up the middle with Michael Horton. And he will crawl for a first down. Walter Evans is there. In this day and age, You can look across the country, shake a tree, and a quarterback will fall out who lost a quarterback competition and transferred to another school instead of sticking around to fight it out. It's the mentality of a lot of youth sports these days, so I'm not casting aspersions on those quarterbacks. That's just the way it is.
It's true. I mean, eventually, especially if you're in a competitive environment, of course, you always want to have won the job. You don't want to be given anything.
Tolles, deep ball. He's got coverage on the edge, and it's complete. A leaping grab by Blake Bone right over the top of Aaron Sims. And Bone and Tolles hook up for a 36-yard completion.
This time you see Blake Bone's outside receiver. And he's able to create enough separation between he and the defender right there in that instance, Aaron Sims, and track that football between him and the football on that pass, because it was a little inside, a little underthrown. Tolles has shown that a couple times, put a little too much air under the football. If it gets there quickly and on time and with enough depth, these receivers could run underneath them.
Quick completion of the perimeter. Extra effort by Dorian Baker. And he's at the marker.
Tom, we heard about the big arm that Patrick Tolles has, but what I've been pleased with is the timing in which he's getting rid of the football and the accuracy where he's placing.
First down run, a little bit more. Nice cut to the outside. And touchdown, Michael Horton.
Michael Horton, he's getting in on the act now. Braylon Hurt can't have all the fun on the ground. JoJo Kipp with a score of his own. I think he's clearly in the end zone. And you could see why they want to get as many touches, spread that football around, especially in the rushing attack, because they certainly have weapons to utilize that.
Long, sustained drives for Kentucky. They're eating up yardage. Their touchdown drives have gone for 75, 80, 80, 90, and 91 yards. 35-0 Cats. College football continues on the SEC Network. Tomorrow night at 7 o'clock from Neyland Stadium is Utah State. Travels to Volunteer Country to take on Tennessee. Butch Jones got to worry about how to stop Chucky Keaton. Game also live on Watch ESPN. And like Kentucky, you'll see a rebuilt Tennessee program that has found its footing after some fantastic recruiting by that entire Tennessee coaching staff. Number 5 recruiting class in the nation. 11 out of ESPN's 300. A couple of key wide receivers in Josh Malone and Levon Pearson. Butch Jones has reinvigorated that Big Orange Country fan base on signing day. It's amazing how many tickets you can sell on signing day.
Yeah, it's crazy. And the fact that you can bring in new recruit, might need to recruit a new mascot after the day. I don't know if this guy's had to do a whole lot of that past couple of years.
It's, you know, their cheerleaders have won 22 national championships, but that is not national championship form, is it?
Yeah, I'm less than pleased with the flexion and extension in these push-ups, and ultimately collapsing there towards the end. The Oregon Duck could trash him, I'm afraid. But know what? You keep this offense going like this, and by the end of the season, we'll be in fantastic shape. But it is amazing from a recruiting standpoint how quickly you can turn things around. And we've seen here today new faces contributing, not just freshmen coming into the program, transfers, and even from the junior college ranks. Kentucky's done a good job of incorporating them into their plans here, especially offensively.
Today on the SEC Network, join host Dari Noka, network analyst, discussing all the SEC news of the day on SEC Now at 3 and 7 p.m. Then at 10:30, here's your wrap-up scoreboard, scores and highlights from around the SEC on SEC Scoreboard. Also available on Watch ESPN. I think Kentucky may have earned a few minutes of highlights tonight, including Patrick Tolles, who already surpassed his career total, 264 yards on 15 completions in the first half today. First carry of the day for Reuben Duckworth.
You go back to Tolles, and they got to like the variety of throws that he's been able to incorporate as well. There have been a couple of timing. There's some quick hitters. He's been able to hit the ball deep down the seam. Able to throw some outs, a fade in the end zone. He's shown some versatility as a passer.
2nd and 6 for Favre. Hand off to the inside. And a couple of yards stopped by both Forrest and Henderson. UT Martin will not get another play off. Well, Kentucky's offense will grab the headlines, especially the play of Patrick Tolles through the first half today, but their defense is pitching a shutout as well. It's a 35-0 lead. You could not have asked for a better start, and Tolles is leading his Cats into the locker room here at Commonwealth.
Coaching staff thrilled, had to have been in a lot of ways, especially on offense. Defense leaked some yards at times, but were able to tighten up. The interception, a turnover created, is certainly that they're going to want to point to and build on as the season unfolds. But a great first half all around for the Wildcats in this open.
I guess the only question for the coaching staff then is, how do you improve on the first half? Well, for more on that, let's take you down to the field. Here's Heather Mitch with Mark Stoops.
Coach, you had a very specific game plan for your quarterback. What are you most pleased with so far in his performance?
I really like Patrick's poise. He's really made some nice plays. He's taking his time. He's going through his progressions. He's missed a couple, but overall, I really like the way he's playing.
When will we see Reese Phillips?
Sometime here in the second half.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Okay, thank you.
Heather, thank you. Great job. It's gotten to that point where we can start thinking about the second-string quarterback, Reese Phillips. How soon, indeed, will we see him? Well, according to Mark Stoops, the game plan has been nearly flawless. Let's head to the studio. The SEC Halftime Report. Here's Peter Burns. Welcome back to SEC Network College Football, presented by Allstate and All UK through the first half at Commonwealth Stadium. 35-0 leading UT Martin out of the OVC. And it's been an oh my kind of first half for Kentucky. Welcome back, everybody. Tom Hart alongside Matt Stinchcomb. 40 plays, 446 yards of offense thus far for Kentucky. The pace and production probably even better than they expected.
Yeah, they have to be pleased, I think, with the first half. And UT Martin's accommodating some of this through softened coverage, and so it's been target practice a little bit for Patrick Tolles. But keeping in mind that Kentucky offense needed this. They needed a first half that looked the way that it did. Big explosive plays, a couple of sustained drives, several in fact, where they're able to move the football down the field, but also ignite some of them, either completing a drive with a big play. We've seen one play drive. It was the Braylon Hurd touchdown run. But they've had a little bit of everything, and it's given Tolles and Neil Brown, the offensive coordinator, an opportunity to spread the football around and get a lot of new faces engaged in the receiving game and handing the football off on the ground.
Here's who's playing with style, brought to you by Belk. Just about everybody looks good on the Kentucky side of the ball.
Yeah, everybody's getting into the game, that's for sure. And the second half, we'll likely see a different passer even. But on the ground, see Mikael Horton. JoJo Kemp has gotten in the end zone. Braylon Hurd, on a couple of occasions, able to rip off some big runs. We're going to be arguing over who's going to have the best carry per average anyway. It's going to be hard to catch Hurd after the first half that he had.
263 yards through the air for Tolles, and he has completed 15 of his 22 passes. He's sharing time and yardage with Braylon Hurd. The Nebraska transfer has already had a monster day. LaDevin Fair 4 yards in, will bring it out. Let's see if it pays off. Fair to the 20. He is through the line. He's to the 30, and Fair loses the football. Loose ball covered by Kentucky. Fair rolled the dice, bringing it out, and it looked like it would pay off until J.D. Harmon was able to fall on the free football. Second takeaway today for UK.
J.D. Harmon, he's just trailing the play. It's a nice shot. Kentucky able to come up with the recovery. You're right, Tom. You know, that could have been a nice momentum builder for UT Martin. And Kentucky a little bit asleep on their coverage. Great hustle by J.D. Harmon to trail that play and be able to create the turnover. See him tomahawk that ball out. That was one of the things from a turnover standpoint Kentucky was able to do a season ago. 12 fumble recoveries, led the conference in that category. We've already seen an interception now from A.J. Stamps. And you see J.D. Harmon, who they get back in their secondary, making a play on special teams. Thanks Jason Simpson, the head coach and play caller for UT Martin. He takes the ball away from his hands. Makes his team an opportunity to get something going.
Kendall Randolph had the recovery. Quick hitter on the first play, and this is going to be another big play. It's Ronnie Shields, a tight end, who rumbles inside the 20. What can UT Martin do? For more on that, we go to Heather Mitz, who talked with their head coach, Jason Simpson.
Yeah, Coach Simpson said basically what they did in the first half to do the opposite. He said they did have some chances that they did not convert, but defensively the 50-yard runs are unacceptable. They're missing some tackles. He said hopefully in the second half that this team can grow.
Thank you, Heather. Yeah, just do the opposite. That would be preferred. Trailing 35-0. They're 0-3 against SEC opponents, but last year UT Martin was able to go to the Liberty Bowl and knock off Memphis. A struggling Memphis program at the time, to be sure. But the Skyhawks got a last-second field goal to win that one.
Tough start to the second half, that's for sure. Do the opposite. Turnover's no good way to get off of that slide.
Tipped at the line of scrimmage. Devontae Barnett able to come in from his strong side linebacker spot. Devontae Barnett is from Taylorsville, Mississippi. He played at Ellisville Junior College for a head coach by the name of Ray Perkins. Yeah, that's the same Ray Perkins that followed Bear Bryant at Alabama and was a head coach of the New York Giants. Played with Joe Namath and Johnny Unitas and was the 1966 SEC Player of the Year. Third and 13. Receiver went out of bounds. Trying to find DeMarco Robinson, who lost his route. Aaron Sims had the coverage.
Interesting old Ray Perkins reference. You know, he is in that coaching influence tree, if you will, of the air raid offense. We touched on Tony Franklin earlier and the role that he played. Hal Mumme, of course, a former head coach and probably the most well-known operator of that offense. It's a tangled web, that's for sure, from a coaching standpoint.
This will be Austin McGinnis. Got the distance, but he left it wide. So that's the only miss for McGinnis today, who's been perfect on his extra points. He's replacing Joe Mansour, who had a pretty good season kicking for Kentucky last year, 14 of 17 on his field goals.
Tom, we've talked about, you know, it's a shutout so far. Offense looked great in the first half. Special teams is something that the coaches will always find something. They're confident that there'll be a number of things they'll point out offensively, defensively as well, justifiably so. But you know, the return game had some penalties, haven't been able to generate a lot of yards. An opening kickoff, were it not for the fumble, that was another good return that they'd given up. It's something that special teams get the attention of the players.
Dylan Favre still in the game at quarterback for UT Martin. Abu Toure with the carry. Bud Dupree with the stop. Should we assume that UT Martin has now settled on Favre overall, or do you think this is more a byproduct of clock and score?
Dylan Favre had the most success, what there was of it, in the first half, outside of some of the runs that you mentioned where, much like that one, Toure was able to get to the edge again. But Jared Neal, he's more of a pocket guy. Had the 7 starts last year, and Dylan Favre only with the 5. But Coach Simpson mentioned he was comfortable playing both, but they never really got anything going with Neal, other than a couple of nice runs on the ground. Where Favre, prior to the interception, looked like he had something working.
Running game's been working for UT Martin, and this is Trent Garland into Kentucky territory before A.J. Stamps comes up with the stop.
You don't want to come out and open the second half. You get the turnover, your offense unable to convert, missed a field goal, but you want to look sleepy on defense. Starters still in the ball game, regardless of the scoreboard.
Favre fires over the middle, intercepted. Fred Tiller looking for a block. 2 picks today for the Kentucky secondary, doubling last year's output. And it's their 3rd takeaway of the day. 29-yard return for Tiller.
Well, just when you think that the defense is asleep at the switch, Fred Tiller able to undercut the route, jump right in front of the receiver to make that interception. And he does a good job of getting the ball back upfield. It's escorted downfield and able to pick up some yardage. And once again, the Kentucky offense afforded excellent field position. They weren't able to capitalize on it previously.
Favre threw all of 5 picks last season. He's thrown 2 today. $35-0. Kentucky leads UT Martin, and they're ready to keep this offense rolling. Patrick Tolles still in the game for Kentucky. We'll wait and see how soon we see Reese Phillips. And he hands off to JoJo Kemp. Kemp to the 40. Written down by Leon Carlton. Returning starter in the secondary out of Hoover High School, just outside of Birmingham. That great program. Part of their 7th state championship title in 2009. They went 14-1 to the Bucks. Play action, Tolles pressure, and he finds his tight end, Stephen Borden. Borden stays on his feet for a few more. Running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. Everybody's involved in this Kentucky offense. Even the quarterback has run for a couple of first downs. Play action again. Tolles gonna scramble, tuck, run, and score. Tolles with a 23-yard touchdown run, helped out by a Blake Bone block on the edge.
Now everybody's run one in. I mean, maybe they could try to get Jordan Swindle a touch on the ground. Tolles showing some of that speed that you were talking about earlier, Tom. You can see what the coaching staff was talking about. He was intending to get the ball downfield, never had to, just tucked, took advantage of the yardage that he could take in front of it. It turns out it was enough for the score. He
outran a defensive back, Walter Evans, to get out and make that play. Patrick Tolles was a parade All-American. He had 38 touchdown runs in high school.
It was a great read, though. Walter Evans was the one. He kind of sunk in on the give. It's a read option on the backside, and when the contained defender collapses, the quarterback pulls it. Patrick Tolles demonstrating that he can make defenses pay with his legs as well. Operating very efficiently. In that first possession, with a quick change off a turnover forced on the kickoff return, what was a nice kickoff return for UT Martin. And the missed field goal, but the Kentucky offense able to pick right back up after getting yet another turnover from their defense. At both times, Kentucky D able to come up with a stop via turnover. Now they're just showing off doing one-arm push-ups.
College football continues on the SEC Network tomorrow night. It's a Sunday night kickoff. On the banks of the Tennessee, Utah State travels to Big Orange Country to take on the Vols. Chucky Keaton for the Aggies, who will try to face that new-look Tennessee defense led by Butch Jones. Game's also live on Watch ESPN. Power 5 teams without a bowl appearance in the last 3 years. UK and UT. I don't know if Charlie Weiss is going to get Kansas there. Indiana has a big one in a couple of weeks at Missouri. And And Colorado's still rebuilding.
I like what they got, though, Mike McIntyre. I think he's the right man for the job, as do Tennessee and Kentucky.
Another touchback from McGinnis. He's been busy, but no one's been as effective as the redshirt sophomore from Fort Thomas, Kentucky, Patrick Tolles.
You know, they got him going early. A couple of easy completions, and then he started getting hot, driving the football deeper downfield. There's a couple of throws where if he had just a little bit more on it, they keep running, but otherwise, he's been able to accept some of the pressure, still deliver the football, and then make the smart plays. If you escape the pocket, if they're moving the pocket, everybody's covered downfield, tuck it and run. They got to be happy with what they've seen from him. The defense has given him a lot. They've given him opportunities to target receivers. They've moved the football around, distributed it well, but you still have to execute, and they were able to do that.
Dylan Favre has thrown a couple of picks. He remains in the game for UT Martin. This is Najee Ray. The edge has been there for the Skyhawks, not necessarily on that play. Picks up 4 before A.J. Stamps takes him down. UT Martin is an athletic program with some really good individual players who have come through in different sports, different levels. Heather Butler took him to the NCAA tournament, the women's basketball team. She was the first ever from the OVC to play in the WNBA. Lester Hudson, NBA player. Mike Tomlin was there for a brief time. That's complete to the edge. And Jerry Reese played for UT Martin in the early 80s, two-time All-Gulf South Conference performer. He's now the senior vice president and general manager of the New York Giants. That's a fantastic career for Reese. Back to work for Favre. Ray. Pads popping now. And he picks up 4 more. So Darius Smith, Ashley Lowry with the stop.
You can see Tom, down 42-0, and running the football, trying to operate their offense. This is one of the things Coach Simpson, when he came into this game, said, we just got to worry about us. Make sure that we can get better at the things that we do well. Ignore the scoreboard. Certainly they are from a play calling standpoint.
Ashley Lowry got a little banged up on that stop, and he's getting the attention of the athletic training staff for Kentucky. Abu Torre almost messed up the mesh, but able to take it from Favre, and that will set up 3rd and a long 2. Melvin Lewis, the junior from Compton, California, with the tackle.
Exchange a little fuzzy. You see it. Favre was a good bit deeper than Torre when he came up to take that handoff. He ended up getting kind of hung on his hip. Lucky that he maintained control of the football as he entered the line of scrimmage.
65 yards on the ground for Torre.
These 3rd downs are difficult, of course, for UT Martin. They try to bring in an extra offensive lineman if they want to get big.
Torre through the heart of the defense, and he is stopped short by Melvin Lewis. We expect to see 5 guys on that interior defensive line for UK today. Lewis will be their leader, along with Mike Douglas. Matt Elam has gotten a few snaps, the freshman.
They've certainly got depth there, as you see Coach Simpson taking issue with how Torre took the ball up into the line. If he was looking for the design cutback or what. Certainly wasn't pleased with how his tailback took it in. But the interior defensive fronts played well.
Satterfield had all day to get that one away and allow the coverage team to get down there. He had 2 punts last year of 70 yards or better. That little rugby run got him a few more. A 41-yard punt for James Satterfield. In the heart of horse country here in Lexington, Kentucky. That's a look at Manchester Farm, and special thanks of Bobby Powell for letting us put the cameras out on his horses, and his daughter Peyton. His daughter Megan is our associate producer. She grew up on that farm that's located next to Keeneland. Over 300 acres, and they've bred or raced over 70 stakes horses. A lot of filming's been done there. Movies, commercials. Matt Stinchcom's photo shoot.
That's exactly right.
Here's the screen, and it is a beauty to DeMarco Robinson. He's got the middle of the field. It's another huge play for Kentucky. And Robinson takes it inside the 10. It started out as a simple screen, and 79 yards later, Kentucky is once again knocking on the door.
Outside right here is where he's going to start from. And it's pretty good blocking as they see the release. Zach West able to get just enough to kind of detour the defender, and then the rest of it's DeMarco Robinson. He's another one of those guys, along with Timmons. They were wanting to get off today. And now here he is with his own big explosive play to go along with some of the others that we've seen already out of this offense.
JoJo Kemp fights for yardage. You know, down in Atlanta, Tim Couch is in his lazy boy watching this game and saying, it's exactly how I did it. You can throw it for 7 yards and get credit for 79.
You know, Tim's got to be pleased if he's watching this, which we know he is. And, you know, this is one of those things where they've been waiting. You know, kind of some pent-up demand. We'll keep in mind where we are in the season, etc. And at the same time, they've got to be pleased with how they've been able to take advantage of these opportunities. DeMarco Robinson made some guys miss.
This will be in the scorebook as a pass to Garrett Johnson. Little flip handoff. Couldn't quite get around the corner. Tano Fears Perez, a junior out of Farragut High School in Knoxville, able to bring him down, and a line judge as well.
Good job by Johnson just to get back to the line of scrimmage, really. Penetration that made him bubble as he came across on a jet sweep. We've seen a lot of these young guys, though. They've been used in different ways. And so they clearly have been able to grasp enough of this offense. Garrett Johnson, they've blown him through the backfield a couple of times. You know, they're touching the ball in a variety of different ways. We call that practically a handoff.
Play clock running out, and so Kentucky will use a timeout. Kentucky's searching for 50. They've hung 42 on UT Martin thus far. Looking good.
All right, Arkansas has arrived down in the Plains, looking to give Brett Bielema his first SEC win. Of course, that game coming up next, 4 p.m. on the SEC Network. Coming up on ABC or ESPN2, depending on what part of the country you're at, 3:30, West Virginia, number 2 Alabama. Blake Sims getting the start for the Crimson Tide.
All right, Peter, thanks. Patrick Tolles getting the start for Kentucky today, and he has led this offense to a monster day thus far. They're looking for another score. JoJo Kemp is the running back. They give to him, dances left side, and is stood up at the line. No gain. Nick Dance was in on the stop along with Ryan Isom.
That's a big win for UT Martin defensively. You finally bow your necks, force yet another field goal attempt. Neil Brown walked out on the field none too happy. The fact his offense incapable of capitalizing on that chance to get another 6.
Neil Brown's lost the visor. Austin McGinnis with the field goal, excuse me, after pushing one wide right earlier. It's a 45-0 lead for Kentucky. Neil Brown knows all about big plays, and they have turned those in on a regular basis tonight. Look at this. Started with Hurd's 73-yarder. The last was Robinson's 79-yarder. And you mentioned this earlier, Matt Stinchcomb. This is a Kentucky team that's putting these big-time numbers up against a team out of the Ohio Valley Conference. The question is, what kind of numbers can they put up further down the schedule and even into SEC play.
Yeah, it's the consistency, really. Will they be able to build on this performance, or is this kind of a strobe and fade type of effect? We saw a season ago, were they able to put up 41 points? They put some points up on Alabama State. They hung some points on Miami of Ohio. So what does it look like when you see a Florida in 2 weeks? And so the idea here, I think if you're looking at it from a coaching staff standpoint, is you build confidence. You build confidence in what you can do offensively. You've got a new starter at the quarterback position. You've got a ton of new faces at the skill positions. We've seen new faces on the offensive front, so they've been able to get meaningful reps. But the question will be, what does it look like when they're faced with more adversity? Because the truth is that to not take the analogy too far, but it's not throwing against air, but there have been some open receivers, some opportunities for Patrick Towles. He doesn't have to fit it in very tight windows. They're going to get a lot tighter in a couple of weeks.
There are some coaches in the country that would love to have 591 yards against air here the first week of the season. It's a 45-0 lead. Let's check in once again with our soccer All-American Heather Mitz.
Just an updated injury report for you guys. Wide receiver Blue is still out with that ankle injury, and running back Hurd has yet to come back into the game. We believe he has an injury and his ankle as well. Lowry came out a couple series ago with a left stinger and has yet to return to the game. Keep an eye on for you guys.
All right, Heather, thanks. A big day for Hurd, but limited action. Just 2 carries to get him a 100-yard game in his first as a Kentucky Wildcat. And a couple of touchdowns, averaging 58 yards a carry. Jared Neal is back in at quarterback for UT Martin. And Heather mentioned Ashley Lowry is not in the game right now at safety for Kentucky. A swing pass to Fair. He is past the 30. Cody Quinn with the stop for Kentucky.
Cody Quinn, that's a name we haven't heard. Dylan Favre has been rotated back out. Now getting some more snaps just for Jared Neal, probably even them out.
Fair brought down short of the marker. That will leave a 3rd and short. And an banged up UT Martin offensive lineman. It's Kadarian Bond making his first start for them this season after redshirting last year. Right tackle out of Brownsville, Tennessee.
Yeah, Bond, as he's attended to by the staff, you can see he's engaged. And then on the backside, it's his own teammate there. It looked like Anthony Tops kind of rolled onto the back. Tops was tangling with big Matt Elam, all 375 pounds of him, the freshman defensive tackle for Kentucky.
So the athletic training staff looks at Bond. We step away for a timeout here in Lexington. Kadarian Bond helped off the field back to the UT Martin sideline with Kentucky on top 45-0. And Skyhawks trying to keep this drive alive, facing a 3rd and 1. Will have to do it without their starting right tackle. Jackson Roberts fills in for him on that right side. Pardon me, Sam Curtis on the right side. Here's play action on 3rd and short. And they go to the fullback for a first down, James Ratliff. Great play by UT Martin. A.J. Stamps with the stop, and the Skyhawks have a fresh set of downs.
Taken out by Trevon Pascal. Excellent play design. You get the linebackers to bite just enough to slip your fullback out in the flats.
This is Fair. Hit in the backfield. There's a flag on the play. Khalid Henderson came in for the stop. Made 7 starts, I should say, for Kentucky last season.
As officials mull it over, right now we've mentioned somewhat unsettled at the linebacker position. Henderson fighting for some time.
Personal foul, face mask, number 22 on the defense. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Is that the second flag against Kentucky today?
You see him when he came upfield. Got a good bit of Fair's face mask, enough to spin him completely around.
All right, the 5th flag against Kentucky in a 45-0 game, first game of the season. I'll give him credit for a fairly cleanly played game.
Yeah, I mean, other than, we had a false start. I think Swindle was playing a left tackle position.
A block in the back on a kickoff return.
Special teams, we've seen a few.
Wanting to go deep. Pressure's coming. And down goes Neal. Jabari Johnson with some help up front.
Yeah, it looked like Johnson flushed him right into the grass, but Reggie Mint, it's a mistake. Never want to end up anywhere close to him. As he gets upfield, you see Johnson fighting off the block, and he flushes Neal right into Reggie Mint.
And Mint is at 5th defensive tackle we were talking about early in the game. Draw on 2nd and 16. Right into Khalid Henderson. And Reggie Mint in on another stop for UK.
You know, Tom, we heard Josh Forrest. We called his name a couple of times. He, Flanagan, Pascal, Henderson. These are all guys that are going to have to step up big for Kentucky, knowing that they're far more veteran in the defensive backfield and what looks to be an improved defensive front. They need that transition portion of their defense to get established.
The big Matt Elam, the freshman in the game, double teamed up front. Flipped off, and a sandwich tackle by Henderson on William Tanner. And he got some help from Fred Tiller, and now Tiller is down on his knees. Secondary already without safety Ashley Lowry.
Big collision for Tiller. It might have gotten the shorter end of the stick. You see that sometimes as two defenders kind of come together at the exact same time trying to make a play. You know, Jared Neal took a pretty big shot at the end of that play as he released the football. We've seen some big hits in this game. You see there, Tiller was low and Henderson was high. What happens sometimes, you see Tiller came in there and he was, you know, he came in about waist high. You know, we hear about some of the targeting fouls as he's helped off, but he's walking out on his own power. It was an appropriate level that he was coming in to make that play. But Henderson, you know, was making the tackle from the other side. It was just sometimes a little bit more force than you anticipated when you come in for a tackle. I'd be surprised if that isn't a stinger, if he didn't get his clock clean just a little bit. Looks a little bit foggy coming off the field.
3:08 left in the third quarter. Timeout taken by UT Martin. Facing a 4th and 1. They've converted one so far today. 6-play, 42-yard drive. Hey, we're talking about UT Martin greats. Can't forget about Pat Hedge Summit. Came out of UT Martin before her Hall of Fame career, Tennessee. College football season continues on the SEC Network. Take it to Auburn later on this afternoon. Brent and Jesse are there for Arkansas and the number 6 Tigers, presented by Dr. Pepper. Then at 7:30, Southern Miss takes on Mississippi State, presented by Regions Bank. Both games also live on Watch ESPN. What do you expect out of the Bulldogs this year?
A lot of folks are really high on them. You know, they think that they take the next step. Dak Prescott, quarterback position. I don't even know if he's considered dark horse candidate anymore. So many people are talking about him for the Heisman. But from a numbers standpoint, he missed some time last season, came in, quote unquote, in relief in the Egg Bowl, and was able to salvage that victory and get Mississippi State the big win over their in-state rival at Ole Miss. I just, you know, when I look at the schedule and who they have, certainly in the West Division and where they have to play them, I don't know that I'm as quite as high on Mississippi State as others are. They got an excellent defense. They've got difference makers at each level of their defense. But I don't know that they're ready to make that big jump into the upper tier in the West.
So Tiller out of the game for Kentucky. J.D. Harmon takes his spot. He's back at a free safety spot. Now 4th and 1. They've loaded up the line. Straight ahead. First down. Brabu Torre. Khalid Henderson with the tackle after he gained the needed distance.
Good job by UT Martin up front. Pulled big Jordan Murphy to lead Torrey up into the line. And we get the yardage needed, sustain the drive. You see big Matt Elam and some others getting some reps in the 3 down front for Kentucky.
Jared Neal checks back to the left side, looking for the screen for Carrick. The Michigan State transfer gets taken down, and we've got a flag on the play. Kyle Carrick spent a year in Mark D'Antonio's system. Didn't see action, and he transferred to UT Martin.
Holding, number 11 on the offense. 10-yard penalty, replay, first down.
That's Corey Jordan who gets flagged. We have not seen Ronald Carswell today for the Skyhawks. He was a highly anticipated wide receiver who started at Alabama, ended up at West Virginia. He's out with a hamstring injury. Number 11, top right corner.
And you could see right there was against A.J. Stamps. Pulled the jersey. It's a telltale sign for the officials. Always makes it easy on them.
On 1st and long, Abu Torrey. Flag on the play. Now, that's amazing to me that as an offensive lineman, you just saw a holding penalty.
I did. It was a defensive, I mean, it was a wide receiver in that regard. Wide receivers do hold from time to time. Offensive linemen allegedly do. I've had a hard time finding a legitimate example of that, though.
Personal foul, face mask on the defense, number 11. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
J.D. Harmon. We've got number 11's getting penalized left and right here.
They're taking their turns. Automatic first now. What you don't want, of course, is to lose your composure. You know, we've seen a couple of personal fouls, a couple of face masks in both instances. One on Khalid Henderson, and one for J.D. Harmon. Penalties of commission. Sometimes it just happens over the course of a play. But you want to make sure that they maintain discipline if you're on the defensive coaching staff at Kentucky.
You would think that UK defensively still angling for a shutout here, and that would be their goal. Out of the backfield, it's fair, and he gets crunched outside the 10. Did he lose the football? Kentucky has it. A chance for a return. I did not hear a whistle. Neither did Khalid Henderson, and he's got a convoy to escort him. Another takeaway for the Cats, and this one taken all the way back. We've got no flags, and the fireworks are up. 88-yard return if it stands. A couple of fumble recoveries and 2 picks for the Kentucky defense.
The defense had to get in on it. You see the big shot he takes right there towards the tail end. It's Kendall Randolph. We talk about some of these young guys, a true freshman. They knew they were going to see some time at nickelback, and Khalid Henderson's there to make the recovery. And not only that, you see Nate Willis just begging him for the football. Kendall Randolph comes up. I tell you what, I wonder if the ball is out by the time Torrey's knee is down. I'm confident that it's being reviewed. Tough to tell from that angle whether the ball is out just yet.
So they'll go to the replay. As it stands, an 89-yard return. Ball's coming out.
Yeah, that certainly warranted a second look. You want to make sure you get it right. But that ball is clearly out. He no longer has control of it as he was going down. That was a great shot by Kendall Randolph. And you're right, Tom. You're saying your Kentucky defense playing to preserve a shutout. And it was very much in jeopardy, certainly in field goal.
Now listen. No whistle. The line judge was right on top of it. He threw the beanbag to mark the fumble, and 89 yards later, Kentucky has a defensive score. Not bad for a team that only had 15 takeaways last year.
They got quite a jump on this season from a takeaway standpoint. You know, sometimes jealousy on the sideline is a good thing. The defense is probably sick and tired of the offense getting all the big plays, getting the touchdowns. They're pitching a shutout. Why not get in on the action? See Kendall Randolph. You know, we've mentioned a lot of the receivers. Blake Bone with a big day. Now Kendall Randolph, a guy that they like, will play in that nickel position that they play. When they're 4 down, only 2 linebackers and an extra defensive back. Blake McLean, who's in front of him on the depth chart now, but they like Randolph, and plays like that will certainly catch a coach's attention.
Joe Dawson is our SEC replay official up in the booth. Khalid Henderson with that takeaway also has 8 tackles, as does A.J. Stamps to lead Kentucky. The only question was whether or not the ball was out before the knee was down, and I think we've satisfied that requirement. Okay, so with 1:13 to go in the 3rd quarter, we'll wait for them to make it official. What has impressed you more today, Matt Stinchcomb, Kentucky's offense or its defense?
That's a tough call. I mean, it's a good problem to have, that's for sure.
Don't need the mic to work to know that the play stands.
You know, as big of a play as that was, you know, on the balance of everything, I'd have to say offensively. But the defense has certainly come up with big stops when they've needed it. You know, they've leaked some yards. They've allowed some drives, but they've gotten the takeaway that they've needed to deny any scoring opportunities and create some of their own. But ultimately, offensively, I think they've done about what they've wanted to be able to do.
Extra point is good. You mentioned Kentucky's looking for some linebackers. Khalid Henderson's been all over the field today, and this will look even better in the film room.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of chest thumping after this one, and rightfully so. You mentioned Kendall Randolph. There's a host of defenders, and you see the ball clearly out. Great call, great confirmation from the replay booth.
And that's his 2nd fumble that Randolph has forced today. He also forced the one on the return.
And a good heads-up play by Khalid Henderson to realize, look, no whistle. You see him entering the frame late. Play's not over.
You know, he's like you at dinner last night. There's a
opportunistic.
couple of pies sitting around that people can't finish, and you're just cleaning it up.
That's my job, Tom. We can't be wasting food for crying out loud. I'll tell you what you don't see in this. You know, Khalid Henderson looks more than fit, but the line judge who was hustling down to make the play, I think it's Paul Petrosco. I think he blew his hammy.
Well, he's had a rough day. Remember, he got taken out earlier down on this side on a previous Kentucky drive. We've had a little bit of everything today, haven't we?
Refs going down, some big hits, fumbles, picks, fumbles, returns for touchdown.
So they'll make it work with a 6-man crew, I suppose. Landry, no chance for a return. Half 100 on the board for Kentucky. It's 52-0. Let's take you back to the studio and find out what else is going on. Here's Peter Burns.
There he is, the defending SEC East champion Gary Pinkel off the bus. South Dakota State on the docket today. That game 3:30 on ESPN2. He is going to be ready to roll. And this guy, Nick Saban, he's lost 2 games in a row. He is ready. It's the Chick-fil-A game from the Georgia Dome. 3:30 SEC.
Peter, thank you. I've always thought it would be bigger news if they didn't get off the bus.
It's a fair point.
1st and 10 for UT Martin. Good physical running from Trent Garland. And he picks up 4 yards on 1st down.
We've seen a lot of depth in this game. Kentucky's jockeying players in and out. Now we get to see some depth from the officiating crew. The line judge goes down. The alternate judge jumps in there. Tony Jocelyn fulfill this crew.
To the edge, complete. And a 1st down for UT Martin. Well, here's how Paul Petrosco went down, trailing the play, and the sniper got him about the 45.
Yep. And he wisely shut it down.
Credit to Paul. He was on top of the play from the outset. He was the one that had the beanbag toss and knew that the ball came out before the knee was down. Another carry for Trent Garland. So there's your alternate judge. Tony Jocelyn will come in.
You know, we got to keep in mind these refs, these up-tempo offenses, and Kentucky's jumped the ball several times. There's a lot of no huddle. There's a lot of reps, a lot of running around, a lot of big plays. They've had to sprint and stretch them out a couple of times.
The SEC does have 8 men. It's one of them. We'll see it at times throughout the season. Garland's getting his work in as the third quarter comes to an end. This one has been all Kentucky. We have seen a little bit of everything today in Bluegrass Country. And for this noon start on the SEC Network, the only thing we don't have, the 3 Daves, 52-0 Cats. And who better to lead the crowd here at Commonwealth Stadium than the all-time passing leader in Kentucky history, Jared Lorenzen. He threw for more than 10,000 yards. No football in his hand this time. He's got the microphone, and nobody's better for this.
He's the hype man. Can you imagine this guy in the huddle? I'll tell you what, he takes authority too, and this stadium responded. He said, everybody get up on your feet. I want to hear some blue and white. You know, as well as the teams played, it got a little quiet in here. No longer.
Hey, if you want to read a great article about Jared Lorenzen and his weight battle, Tommy Tomlinson of ESPN the magazine wrote an incredible story within the last week or so that details Lorenzen's battle, his athletic prowess, and what he's up to today. I could not recommend a read more.
Yeah, I saw that one. It was a great read. I'll tell you what, that's a big man. That's a big athlete. He was a heck of a quarterback here at Kentucky, and pretty elusive. He was a big guy when he was playing here at Kentucky, but you won't find a better person than Jared Lorenzen. Great fellow, and put up a ton of numbers.
I will remind you that he also coached Patrick Tolles as his quarterback coach as a high school player. Jared Neal will scramble.
Forward.
And he is brought down at the 45-yard line to bring up a 4th down. Corey Johnson, junior from Columbia, South Carolina, with the stop.
Called Corey Johnson's name early in this game. He was able to get some pressure. See Coach Simpson, you know, they got a game to call. They got a game plan that they're trying to implement. And he understood the challenge that they faced coming into this game. There's still work that they could get done with a quarter left to play.
So 4th and 1, UT Martin is going to go for it. Jared Neal scrambled last time. He's got Reuben Duckworth on his left. And he needs to burn a timeout. Did he get it off in time? He did. And so as they look at a 4th and 1, let's take you back down to the field. Our own Heather Mitz has caught up with the all-time leading passer in Kentucky history. She's down there with Jared Lorenzen, who also coached Patrick Tolles in high school.
Jared, you coached Patrick in high school.
Yep.
How do you think he's playing so far today?
You couldn't ask for anything better out of him. He's got about probably right around 300, 350 yards, a couple touchdowns. He's ran one in. This is is exactly what he needed.
Where have you seen him grow the most?
Mentally, to tell you the truth. I mean, he's always had the capability of doing this. He's always been able to run, always been able to throw, but mentally he could have gone in the tank last year. Really could have, but he's fought through it and couldn't be prouder of him.
How would you have liked to have played in this offense?
Well, luckily I did. I played in this. He's running the ball more than I would have. Pat is for sure. But it's such a fun system. It's somewhere we can spread you out to the wide. We can throw it deep on you. We can run the ball. It's a lot of fun. It's a little bit, people will call it a gimmick offense, but that's what everybody's running right now. Did you give him the nickname Patty Ice? I did not, and I refuse to ever take credit for that. He got that after I left, so I'm not taking anything for that. All right, thanks, Jared. Enjoy the game. Get the fans hyped. Thank you very much.
What a great dude.
There's a player there as well. Also an alumnus. You see not just here at Kentucky, but at his high school, giving back both levels.
On 4th and 1, they go deep and spread him out. for a completion to Corey Jordan and a UT Martin first down. And once again, they're into the heart of Kentucky territory after a 22-yard gain. And the Cats trying to keep this shutout intact.
You're gonna like to fight, though, at UT Martin sideline. Coach has got to be pleased that they're staying in it.
Duckworth with the carry. That 22-yard completion was the largest gain of the day for the Skyhawks.
There were moments where they had a good deal of success on the ground. They pick up 7, 8, 9 yards at a time. When Dylan Favre was first inserted, he seemed to spark the offense a little bit, but A.J. Stamps with the first interception of the season has snuffed that out. It's been tough sledding for the UT Martin offense since.
Neal in a crowded pocket overshoots his intended receiver, trying to find Matt Stewart. That will leave 3rd and 8.
UT Martin drives, and you mentioned the shutout still somewhat on the line as they enter the positive side of the field offensively. We've seen this defense for Kentucky, and they've bent, they've given up some yards on a couple of drives, but it's the turnovers and the takeaways that they can generate that'll hold them in good stead if they can continue that throughout the balance of the season.
It's not the only way today's game will pay off for UT Martin. Clock has run out. I talked to Jason Simpson and said, Coach, how and why do you schedule this game? And they'll go to Mississippi State later in the year.
On the offense, number 13, 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
Hey, in this day and age of college football, it's all about the economics of it. He said, I've got a new stadium coming my way. We'll tear down at the end of our regular season and build up once again. He said, my president did a fantastic job going out and getting a good chunk of the money. It's up to me to find the rest, and that's why we go on the road to take on SEC teams. Next year, they'll travel to Oxford and Fayetteville.
Mississippi State spent some time there as an athlete in his own right.
Down the sideline, incomplete. Yeah, he played quarterback for a couple of seasons on the roster at Mississippi State. Played baseball for Ron Polk at the same time and then transferred to Southern Miss. He was a pretty good baseball player. Back two-time all-conference selection on the diamond at Southern Miss. He has the best winning percentage of any coach in UT Martin history. And we talked about their near misses. 2008, they missed a field goal in the last play. In 2012, 1 point away from the win to take over conference time. 4th and long. Looking for another conversion. Catch made in traffic. A tremendous grab by William Tanner. The Kentucky transfer. He spent 3 years here in a Kentucky uniform but didn't see the field. And now in the 4th quarter, he comes up with a first down grab. 19 yards.
Great catch there, and it involved Kendall Randolph. We've mentioned a couple of good plays by him and forcing a fumble. That time a completion over his head. And Tanner able to come up with a big completion. You got to feel good coming back to your former school and getting a big catch in the red zone.
Here comes pressure. Pass is incomplete. Kendall Randolph has 2 forced fumbles today and a quarterback hurry as he chased Jared Neal backwards.
A little bit of youth. It's hard to tell on the field, but as we'll see here, Neal trying to get the ball downfield and completed it right over Randolph. Willis was over the top. Tanner able to maintain some focus in traffic and come up with a reception. B.J. Elliott just going crazy from the sideline trying to communicate to his troops.
Pressure again coming. And incomplete. No flag. Coverage on Rod Wright. And Kendall Randolph brought the pressure. Glenn Faulkner had the coverage. He's seen some time at safety.
You see Neal, he's been a different guy here in the second half. I had a chance to collect his thoughts. Dylan Favre taking snaps for the balance of the second and early in the third. He seemed to rally at this point.
A couple third down conversions today. Neal over the middle, caught, stopped at the line. Corey Jordan. It stood up at the 1, and that's where they'll mark his forward progress.
You see him. Great tackle there at the line at the goal line, rather.
The stop for Glenn Faulkner. First and goal, UT Martin on the ground and in. And the Skyhawks have found the scoreboard with 12:07 to go. Najee Ray.
Touched on how Neal played much better. Has played so much better here in the second half. The defense for Kentucky seemed to have some communication issues on a number of different occasions during that drive. Skyhawks able to punch it in.
Jackson read it to attempt the extra point. And the junior from Mount Juliet, Tennessee, fits it through. So Kentucky loses the shutout. On that drive, they converted a 3rd and 2 fourth down opportunities. It pays off for the Skyhawks in the end zone for the first time.
All right, we're about 40 minutes away. How about this kid? 5th-year senior on his 3rd position. Blake Sims making his first career start today for Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide.
You've done something right. Also ran for a touchdown. And first down. And so his day is seemingly done until towels become accepted headwear on the field.
That's right. Autobiographical for him. Mispronounced that last name. Tolls in his towels. He's got to be pleased, though.
Well, if you're a Kentucky fan and you're thinking it's 52-7, what's left? I'll tell you what's left. Reese Phillips, redshirt freshman, will likely enter the game on this possession. They were anxious to get the freshman some snaps, so we will see him shortly. Oh, that one's off of the pylon, and that is out of bounds and a touchback. Don't want to play that kicker in darts. That was on target.
Very impressive. And I think I saw him pointing at the pylon before he kicked it.
He called it, right?
He called his shot. Look at that. That's amazing. That pylon it's a strange distinction. It's out of bounds and in the end zone.
Here's a guy I'd like to be in the end zone. It's Reese Phillips, redshirt freshman from Signal Mountain, Tennessee. 2-year All-State quarterback. Threw for better than 2,200 yards as a prepster. He has the more accurate arm, but he did not win the quarterback competition. And so you can bet that he's anxious to show what he can do here with 12 minutes to go. It will be in the book as a pass to T.B. Williams. I think it was Art Briles, the first guy I really saw with a guy Case Keenum back in Houston, to turn that little handoff, to change it from a handoff to a pass. And the distinction there is, A, it's a forward pass, and B, if he fumbles a handoff, the ball's live. If he drops the short pitch, the ball's dead. And sometimes you got to think about that when a wide receiver is coming back to get a handoff. A couple of yards straight ahead for Stanley Williams.
So far, not a whole lot of opportunity for Reese Phillips. He did complete that first quote-unquote pass. You know, it was an Orange Bowl, I want to say, 2 years ago when West Virginia hung 70 on Clemson, and we saw that play repeatedly. And Dana Holgerson, I think, credited the coach at University of Colorado of the Mines for that play. We've seen a lot of innovation come from a lot of different places. It's a brilliant design.
On 3rd and 5. Incomplete. His receiver stopped. T.B. Williams got in the land of the Sharks and decided, I better pull up.
Tough series for Reese Phillips to come out initially. You get the fly sweep that comes running through your backfield. Minimal yardage on a attempted run to the meat of the line of scrimmage. And then, of course, T.B. Williams. Some time yet, defense to get him the football back. We'll be able to get some live reps.
Landon Foster has been the forgotten man today. This is Kentucky's first punt of the day. Kevin Anderson back to return. That is a beauty for coming in cold. And it runs Anderson out of bounds. Yeah, Bob Stitt back at the Colorado School of Mines is smiling after another 1-foot pass from Kentucky.
Today on the SEC Network, Arkansas heads to Auburn for a season-opening SEC West showdown. Quarterback Brandon Allen returns to the Razorback huddle, healthy and ready to lead the Hogs on their comeback. While Gus Malzahn's Tigers, off the heels of a remarkable season, focus on bringing home a national championship. Arkansas-Auburn, today at 4 on the SEC Network, presented by Dr. Pepper.
SEC Network College Football is presented by Allstate. Are you in good hands?
How about our guys at Pazzo's Pizza? That might be the only place we haven't eaten in Lexington this weekend. And they get some high, get some VIPs in there. That's the family of Austin McGinnis living it up, having some pie.
Good way to prep for the game.
Hey, best pizza in the SEC. What do you think? You go with Pazzo's?
I've not been to Pazzo's. We blew it. We didn't go there. We should have. Maybe.
You've been here before.
I know, it's inexcusable. We did eat dinner with the governor last night.
That's a true story.
He didn't know we were there.
No, we were in the same restaurant, so we had dinner with the governor.
Technically, he was there. Steve Bashir.
I'm going to show my bias, and I'm going to go with Shakespeare's Zoo.
You're not biased. You're an objective observer, culinary critic. We trust your opinion.
As you should. I know how to eat. Granted, I wasn't the one who had everybody else's pie off the table last night, but
it's a sin at my house to waste pie, Tom.
Jared Neal has been out there for a while now for UT Martin. That is perfectly placed. William Tanner with another grab. It's a second first down for Tanner, the senior from Nashville. J.D. Harmon and Marcus McWilson bring him down. Kentucky has lost a couple of starters to injury in their defensive secondary, Lowry and Tiller. Torrey hit in the backfield, and he is submarined for a loss by Kendall Randolph. I love watching guys like Kendall Randolph play in games like this because they are acutely aware that there's still time on the clock and still time to impress coaches.
It's true. Yeah, and you look at it, he's getting a pretty good look from some of these guys at UT Martin. I've been impressed with the Skyhawks in that haven't laid down, and it's been easy to do it because Kentucky scored just about every way you possibly can. And yet they've still been out there working to execute and having some opportunities for success, certainly ultimately getting in the end zone.
They're moving the ball now, and that's another one complete just shy of the marker. And Matt Stewart.
You mentioned Tiller. They've had some injuries in the back end. They had that was an issue a season ago for Kentucky. Not only was consistency on the quarterback spot, receiver, but the secondary, where they would lose guys, it was hard to develop a whole lot of continuity. You certainly want to have depth that's being tested already here today.
Kentucky as a defense last year struggled in a lot of different ways. That may be obvious. They were 100th in the nation in allowing third down conversions and 113th on fourth down conversions. Their opponents converted 11 of 16 fourth down. So it's tough to judge them in a game like this today. UT Martin, after the first quarter, really had nothing to lose. But they've converted a few thirds and a couple of fourths here in the second half.
You see those two, Mark Stoops, E.J. Elliott, they've worked together a long time. Came to Kentucky from Florida State, where Elliott was the defensive end coach, and Stoops was the coordinator.
Well, they had some great defensive ends at Florida State. Bjorn Werner, Tate Carity, Brady Jenkins. And when we asked both of those guys yesterday how Bud Dupree matches up with them, those are NFL guys, and they said he's just as good.
But no hesitation either. It wasn't one of those where maybe it'll get back to him and it'll prop up his confidence. Now they meant it.
game on the run blitz, able to get pressure behind the line of scrimmage, and Trent Gardner fights his way for a yard. Reggie Ment with the stop. 4th and short for UT Martin.
I talked about the fight of UT Martin. Trent Garland has proven to be a very difficult man to get on the ground, certainly with just one tackler. The man's played hard, as have a number of his teammates, in a game that has long since gotten away from them from a competitive standpoint, yet they're out there, still the competitive edge, still pushing.
James Ratliff is the fullback. Duckworth the tailback. Here comes a safety blitz. Duckworth goes the opposite way and bowls over a man for a first down. He went right through Darren Blaylock. That'll leave a mark.
Sometimes when you're the free hitter in the hole, that can be a blessing. Other times it can be a curse. It depends on who the guy is. It's the other hat in the hole. That time Blaylock, he got on the receiving end, I suppose. Duckworth did a great job of pulling him over.
UT Martin 5 for 5 on 4th downs. Deep ball, man coverage. Incomplete. Trying to find Kyle Carrick. J.D. Harmon with the coverage. Today on SEC Network, join host Dari Noka, network analyst, discussing all the SEC news of the day. That's on SEC Now at both 3 and 7 p.m. or as soon as we finish here. Then at 10:30, scores and highlights from around the SEC on SEC Scoreboard. Also available on Watch ESPN. So Dari, hang tight. At 6:24 left in this one.
Dari and the guys had to hang tight the other night with that lightning delayed Vanderbilt.
Wobbler over the middle, hung on to for a first down for Corey Jordan.
UT Martin putting together another drive, working their way down the field. I like the way Neal has responded here in the second half. I'm sure the coaching staff, UT Martin, Jason Simpson, they are as well. I like the fact that he bounced back. It's a 2-quarterback system, but he didn't have a whole lot of success in the first half.
4-man rush. Fires in zone. Touchdown! Great grab, Kalen Weathers.
They were able to grind it in earlier, and now Neal able to zip one in there. Good job by Weathers to hang on to the football.
12-play, 76-yard drive that ate up 5 minutes. Not that they want to chew clock here, but they haven't been playing to the score for a while now. And you'd see Martin with a couple of fourth-quarter touchdowns. Jared Neal started the game. Looks like he'll finish the game for the Skyhawks. And they're trying to finish in fine fashion. Neal to Weathers. Well, before long, we'll have a brand new CWS, Commonwealth Stadium here in Lexington. The beams are up and the renovations are ongoing. A $120 million renovation expected to be completed by the start of next season. Exterior upgrades, wider concourses, new concession stands and restrooms will build Dave Neal a brand new press box and an additional $45 million football office and practice complex. And that will be key. And to think the job that they've done recruiting already. Now the football complex will certainly aid in that regard, but the way Mitch Barnhart has talked about it, their director of athletics here, in terms of recruiting by rebuilding the stadium, that's recruiting the fan base, not the players.
Well, it makes a lot of sense. You know, of the renovation projects that we've seen in recent years, I think this one makes a ton of sense, the way they're using it, utilizing the new space.
A squib kickoff, and that has created open running room and an open lane up the middle. A return past the 40 for J.D. Harmon. And you know what? It's not just athletic facilities that are being built with Kentucky athletic department monies. The new science building has gotten a big boost from Mitch Barnhart and his guys.
And I think that's proven a good representation of what it's all about, and part of the athletics mission on any university's campus. They got an opportunity to give back. A lot of schools, most schools, they actually take money from the university side. Students contribute towards operating budgets. They're here at the University of Kentucky, finding ways to give back, not only on a regular basis, but in that instance for a specific project for an academic purpose.
Nearly 600 yards of offense. Scientific approach for Kentucky. They have, as Michael Horton gets another carry, they have dissected this UT Martin defense in a lot of different ways.
With that, you know, the scientific method, you know, they're big in exercise science here. within the football program. They've got 5, I believe, staff members, Eric Corum being one of them. You know, they've changed their preparation around. You know, Thursdays are now their walkthrough, and on a Friday they do a more up-tempo run-through, kind of ramp up the old metabolism, get their bodies conditioned for Saturdays.
To throw, tipped, and nearly picked. Dorian Baker, the intended receiver. Tay Martin nearly hauled it in. So Reese Phillips is not finding it as easy as it was the first 3 quarters for this Kentucky offense.
Contested throw that time. He's trying to fit it in there to Baker. Phillips is getting an opportunity. Keeping in mind, though, mostly young guys, almost all young guys, especially on the perimeter. But still a chance, you know, to get some quality reps in there. They know, they've already made it clear Patrick Towles is their guy at quarterback.
Pressure coming on 3rd and 6. Good touch. A big pass play to TV Williams. And he's inside the 20 before being brought down by Khalid Higgins.
So that'll look good in the stat sheet. You see TV Williams right here as he releases off the line. Reese Phillips able to deliver the football and drop it in right over a defender's head. Turns TV Williams around a little bit. We've seen that a couple of times on the deeper balls, even with Patrick Towles in the game. But regardless, Williams able to adjust and pick up additional yardage after the catch.
Let's go, 84.
That one went for 42. On the draw, there's room to the edge. A pylon in the sights of Michael Horton. Touchdown, Kentucky. Second of the day for Horton. He's one of 5 running backs that has seen time today.
He's the 4th different ball carrier we've seen get into the end zone. As you mentioned, he's been there twice. Braylon Hurd did it. Hurd did it the hard way. He had the furthest to go. A couple of long ones. Probably exhausted by the time he got there, and he's been on the sideline resting an injury. The running back core stepped up big, including Patrick Towles at his quarterback position, demonstrating his ability to run the football effectively.
656 yards of offense for the Kentucky Wildcats. They've left UT Martin feeling blue today. This time it's Horton for touchdown number 2. Here's today's Good Hands play, brought to you by Allstate.
Really, this is just a good hand play, right? Singular. He ended up using that second hand. A.J. Stamps, the safety that Kentucky's very excited about, and he opened up the season with the first interception. We already mentioned that secondary's doubled their total from a year ago. They only had the one by Ashley Lowry. Now Stamps is on the board.
This is better form.
Yeah, I like that. You know, clearly they probably went over there, pushed the fluids. Probably wasn't ready for all this.
I think it's a different guy.
Well, no, you need to have depth there as well.
Yeah, you have to.
And it might be a true freshman. They take that exercise science throughout the program, Tom. It's not just the football players, but the mascots as well.
His triceps are going to feel fantastic tomorrow.
From a burn so good sort of way.
The 5. Jordan Landry brought down inside the 20. Flags on the play. Darren Blaylock in on the stop.
During the return, holding number 36 on the return team. Penalty is half the distance to the goal. First down.
59 points here for Kentucky. Let's go to our man who's our push-up champion. Back to the studio and Peter Burns.
All right, how about this guy, Matty Mock, out in Columbia. You can't really see his awesome beard, but he is ready to go. 3-1 as a freshman starter. Gets his first start for the Mizzou Tigers. A little bonus coverage coming up. And how about this guy, Brett Bielema? He's looking to end that streak, looking for his first SEC win. Of course, that game comes up 4 p.m. You don't have to go anywhere. Just keep it locked here on the SEC Network.
Peter, thanks.
I think that could be a great one, that Arkansas-Auburn game. I think that could end up being a surprise football game. And I'm not going to say necessarily I think Arkansas wins it, but I think that's a competitive football game and well into the second half.
What's Auburn going to look like at quarterback today?
You know, they got Johnson starting out there. Jeremy Johnson will take the field as suspended Nick Marshall. That's a real question mark, is for how long. Coaches have been very evasive as to how long Nick Marshall will sit. Certainly both of those teams, looks like we got another injury along the sideline. We've already had one official go down.
Kentucky has 22 national championships in cheerleading, and there's been an accident with a Kentucky cheerleader. And that will, for good reason, hold up play while they tend to the Kentucky cheerleader, and teams will catch a break here with 4:05 to go in the fourth quarter. So 59-14 score here. For more push-ups, let's go back to Peter Burns again. We're working him hard today.
All right, Blake Sims making his first career start today. We got a couple of minutes so that game kicks off. Kind of a crazy situation for Nick Saban, getting ready to get into it. All right, Tony Barnard, we're going to bring you in here. Blake Sims making that start. Jake Coker probably going to get a little opportunity to go ahead and play. Is it a hot hand, or how much do you think they're going to play?
Well, I think that he wants to see, Coach Saban wants to see Blake Sims. I think Blake Sims has earned the right to start. Remember, he's a very popular guy in that locker room. You get him into some kind of rhythm, and then a little bit later on, I think you let Jake Coker come in. And so I think it's going to be completely by feel, but you want to see both of those guys play in this game because, again, the decision's got to be made by September 20 when they play Florida.
Okay, so if you're in Nick Saban's shoes, how much are you testing Blake Sims? How much are you testing the passing game when you know that all you got to do is hand it off to T.J. Yeldon, Derrick Henry, Drake? I mean, you've just got a litany of backs back.
Well, but you know West Virginia's going to compensate. You know they're going to stack people in the box trying to slow it down. So do the play-action pass, take advantage of those opportunities that West Virginia's going to give you, and you get a chance to work on your passing game.
Kind of weird, right? 2 games in a row. I mean, look at T.J. Yeldon getting pumped up. And I think that's one of the things. They've always had a rotation of backs. It's just they're going to start with Yeldon to get everybody a little bit gassed, and then they bring in the big bruisers. Right?
Well, that's the thing. I really want to see Derrick Henry in this game. Derrick Henry, you remember, the great freshman, one of the high school all-time leader in rushing, had 100 yards against Oklahoma and only 8 carries in the Sugar Bowl. What will Derrick Henry do against this defense?
All right, about 13 minutes until that game kicks off. West Virginia and Alabama, but we got another one. How about this? All right, the weather's looking okay for us. About 40 minutes before Arkansas at Auburn, and obviously the big question, and and let's go back actually to the guys in Lexington.
All right, Peter, thank you. So from the plains to something that's just plain scary, and a young lady being helped off the field. All right, Peter, thank you. 4:05 to go here, and thumbs up from that young lady being helped off the field. Member of the Kentucky cheerleading squad. And some hanging heads over that Kentucky sideline. So all of our best to her. For now, back to football. Jared Neal is the quarterback for UT Martin. This is Reuben Duckworth. Well, at the end of the day, Matt, it's going to be a Kentucky runaway victory, and UT Martin showing offensive signs here late in this game. Like anybody else through the first week, Kentucky will see how healthy they are heading into week 2. They saw a few starters on the defensive back end go down with injury, and Raylan Hurd never returned after a big touchdown run that went for 73 yards.
Javis Blue got nicked, it looked like, there for a little while. They've had a few guys go down, guys leave the football game. Whenever you have a runaway like this game, not only are you able to get some guys some reps, build some depth, but you also hope that you can get out of the game healthy. They got Ohio coming up next week. Frank Solich's team.
Incomplete. Pressure came from the edge. Taylor Higginson was the intended receiver. And J.D. Harmon came off the edge. Yeah, that game next week, taking on a good Ohio team, 3:30 on ESPNU.
And then Florida on the heels of that one. I mean, you're looking at a Kentucky schedule where going into the season, you could feasibly think, you know what, they've got an opportunity to win 4 games. You got an opportunity to win 12, obviously. 4 coming into the season. But with the outing that we saw from Vanderbilt the other night, question marks in the back end, they might be able to scrape their way to bowl eligibility.
Ball bobbled and finally hauled in by William Tanner's having a great 4th quarter. This is what the schedule looks like. Mentioned ESPNU will have the game against the Bobcats, and Florida from Gainesville will be on the SEC Network. So you got 4 wins in there as of now.
Yeah, you got UT Martin, obviously. So you chalk that one up. Ohio next week, you mentioned, will be a challenge. I think Kentucky can get that one. You get Vanderbilt and Louisiana Monroe, who was able to beat Wake Forest the other night. And then it really comes down to, I think, most likely playing for bowl eligibility here in the last 2 weeks versus Tennessee and Louisville.
That Louisville game coming on the back end of the schedule is a change for both Kentucky and Louisville fans. The SEC really likes the way that shapes up now schedule-wise, with so many SEC, ACC matchups close out the regular season. Something a little bit different. Duckworth to the right side. You know, the biggest question mark, we talked a lot about how would the linebackers look today? How would their secondary look? What would these unproven running backs look like? But the biggest question from a Warriors point of view had to have been at the quarterback position. Was Patrick Towles the right choice? Will he remain the right choice? And I think he put to rest any concerns with his performance today. Not to say that things will be easy against Ohio or Florida, but he gave you the performance that you had to have today. One that left no question marks. Ball came loose. Was it a forward pass or not? Kentucky falls on it. It would be their 5th takeaway today. Jabari Johnson with the recovery. Reggie Ment forced it.
See, off the play fake, Neal's got his head, eyes downfield. The ball was coming back up, but it wasn't going forward. It's almost reminiscent to the old tuck rule. He gave the pump fake. But unfortunately, when you look at it now, he tucked it back down, and he was going up with the football, but certainly wasn't coming forward with it.
It would be the 5th turnover of the day for UT Martin. With 2:05 to go.
Now, if he were Tom Brady and he played for the New England Patriots, that's an incomplete pass.
And it'd be snowing here.
That'd be hard to pull off. Different jerseys, too.
Here's Horton again. Well, he's done a tremendous job as a reserve today. This is just the start of things on SEC Network today. Brent and Jesse will be at Jordan-Hare for number 6 Auburn playing host to Arkansas. Open the season. That's presented by Dr. Pepper. Then at 7:30 tonight, Southern Miss takes on Mississippi State. Dave Neal and Andre Ware with their 2nd game of the weekend. That's presented by Regions Bank. And the folks at Starkville are hoping that Dave and Andre didn't bring the thunderstorms with them. Both games also live on Watch ESPN.
Speaking of working hard, Dave and Andre, we had a marathon the other night. Vandy and Temple. 2 games a week. They take a knee. Class move. Coach Stoops and his staff. But this has proven to be an interesting opening week of games, and it started with South Carolina A&M and what proved to be a pretty sizable upset by A&M. A dominant performance by Kenny Hill. And it just goes to show just about anything can happen in an openers especially.
Well, if you consider the fact that most coaches claim that the biggest improvement is made between week 1 and week 2, that suggests that Texas A&M will be even better next week.
I'll tell you what, South Carolina better be even better next week versus East Carolina. That's a dangerous team that they'll be facing as they enter SEC League play. But as it is, Kentucky, I think they got just about everything they wanted to get done today, and they certainly answered the bell on offense and even got in on the scoring on the defensive side of the ball as well. I think the fans were very entertained with what they saw offensively. Lots of points, which is what was kind of promised a season ago. They demonstrated some patience. There's still a lot of buzz around this program, and a 59-point victory will only add to that.
59-14, as you mentioned, is the final. Youth was served today, and Patrick Tolles in his first start since he was a high schooler went 20 of 29 for 370 with a touchdown through the air and 1 on the ground. He's standing by with Heather Mitz.
Patrick, thinking about all the adversity that you had to go through to get to this point, 20 for 29, 370 yards and a touchdown. What did it feel like to lead your team to this victory today?
Unbelievable, unbelievable. You know, it's a huge culmination of things. You know, the whole team, we worked so hard since January, you know, to get to this point, and it's great. You know, it's just beginning. You know, we got Ohio next week we're excited about, but it's great. It's awesome.
What does it do for your confidence?
It helps it for sure. You know, I like to say I'm a pretty confident guy. You know, when you've got such players like I do around me, such weapons, such a great offensive line who played awesome today, it helps out there. And today went great.
From a personal standpoint, what do you still need to improve on in preparation for Ohio next week?
And there's a lot of things. You know, there's a lot of just small things. You know, that we'll tweak. We'll watch this game tomorrow, and we'll get better. You know, we're only going up this year. We're excited about it.
Congratulations. Enjoy it.
Thank you so much.
So Tolles, a third-year sophomore, making his impact known, and a lot of freshmen that played a big role today for Mark Stoops in this Kentucky program. 59-14 is the final. Coming up next, SEC Now. For Matt Stinchcomb, Heather Mitz, our entire crew, I'm Tom Hart. So long from the Bluegrass State, where Kentucky opens with a bang, 59-14. Now back to Peter Burns.